This podcast is a part of the Podmania podcasting network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Stardom Cast, your monthly audio source for all things world wondering stardom right here on the Podmania podcasting network. I'm your host, Rob Gooding, and I am joined as ever by Christopher O'Brien. Chris, how are you?
It's weird when you call me Christopher.
To be honest, as I was going into your full name, I don't think I've ever called him Christopher.
The only people who ever call me Christopher are my mum, my dad, my brother Patrick, and then my twin when he's annoyed at me.
Is that your brother Patrick, or is it your brother, Patrick, is Patrick a different person, or is Patrick your brother?
Patrick's my brother.
Okay, fair enough. I thought you only had one brother.
No, I have three and a sister.
Just spawning, aren't you?
To be fair, you don't want to know how many fucking nieces and nephews I have. Jesus Christ.
To be fair, when you say my niece has come round, it is a case of which one?
Yeah, to be fair, both of the ones I see on a regular basis are proper little shits.
Things only an uncle can say.
Yeah, but like one of them walks in and it's like, Chris, you haven't changed your style in the whole time I've been alive. And I'm like, you know, shit. When you were younger, I spent most of my days in a fucking school uniform, so like my style has changed.
How old is this niece?
She is 9.
She's 9, so in 9 years you haven't changed your style.
But like, to be fair, I don't have an expression. I have a timeless style, Rob. I have a band and/or wrestling T-shirt.
Yep.
A hoodie which gets rotated around. If it's cold, I have a bomber. But, you know, for the most part, it's just my hoodie. And jeans. Boom. Timeless.
So, you say timeless, I say skater boy. You know, one of the two.
He was a boy.
I knew you were going to start singing that. Also, by the way, Avril Lavigne, genuinely a guilty pleasure of mine. I love a bit of Avril.
I'd call it guilty, but like I'm beyond the. I think like 1989 by Taylor Swift is like an all-time great pop album. So I'm beyond feeling guilty about the music I like.
Well, you say 1989 by Taylor Swift. Now, in all honesty, I've never heard the actual full album by Taylor Swift. What I have heard is the Ryan Adams cover, which he released, which is basically he's just done an album of all of the songs from 1989, and his cover of Bad Blood, his cover of Blank Space, and of Shake It Off are all absolute bangers, and I implore everyone that listens to this, if you love a lovely bit of acoustic melancholy, then go and check out Ryan Adams' covers of Taylor Swift. They are bangers.
It is a bit weird to me that you've listened to that, but not the original album.
I haven't got anything against Taylor Swift. I appreciate that she can write some tunes. She's just not my... I can't have my phone on shuffle and have Korn come on and then followed instantly by Taylor Swift. There's a little bit of me that just can't have that happen.
I deliberately make my shuffle as like varied as possible, so I'm like so if I'm sitting on the bus listening to music or just, you know, in my dark room crying, I can have
in which case Korn would be perfect.
No, but like
nobody understands me.
Like the other night, I went for my walk, and on my shuffle. So like I've been listening to like classic albums recently, but when they finish, I just go into shuffle, and I went from like Metallica to The Greatest Showman to Taylor Swift to Idol to like a hardcore punk band to the Beatles, and it was like I love my shuffle.
What album are you on of your 1001 albums you must listen to right now that you're trying to work your way towards?
I've listened to 5 or 6. I can't remember. And I'm not going like in order. I'm just like randomly picking.
Okay, right, okay.
No, because if I went in order, do you realize how many fucking Frank Sinatra albums I would have to fucking listen to?
Hey, You say not one bad word against the crooner that is Frank Sinatra. You leave that man alone.
Or like, because I don't mind Elvis. I quite like Elvis actually, but if I had to listen to Elvis Presley 8 times in 10 albums, never again. Never fucking again.
No, that's reasonable. I mean, whoever compiled that list, putting that much Elvis in that small confined space is ridiculous.
I am exaggerating, but like you have to like the amount, especially like in the early days, people they would like commit to a vinyl album. It's probably not that long a list because it probably wasn't the easiest thing to produce. So.
No, I get that. Just off the cuff, if you had to have one album, and I know it's going to be a Smiths album, if you had one album on vinyl, what would it be?
Easy, Revolver by the Beatles. Favorite album.
It is a very, very good album.
It's the album that I listen to and it's like, oh shit, music can be more.
Well, it's like when you've got a record player and you're listening to vinyls, you have got to pick albums that you can listen to all the way through. And there's 2 big ones. They're both Pink Floyd albums, actually. Dark Side of the Moon, which is just, it's just musical masterpiece. And Wish You Were Here, which is probably top 3 favourite albums ever alongside Led Zeppelin 4 and Dark Side of the Moon. Absolutely cracking albums.
I know my 3 favourite albums just off the top of my head. It's The Beatles, Revolver, The Strokes, Is This It, and definitely Maybe by Oasis.
3 strong albums. I'm not a massive Strokes fan, but I can appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know why we're stalling for time, by the way, Chris, considering the amount we've got to talk about.
We're not even stalling for time. We just got talking. We haven't done the Stardom cast in like a month of this. I had to do the last one on my own, and I'm just happy to have someone else here.
Just to bounce off. No, I do need to apologise to everyone. I've not been in a great place recently, and Chris stepped in to do the last Stardom cast on his own, which is always horrible to do a podcast on your own, because you've got, like we said, you've got no one to bounce off. You just get empty silence on the other end, which is never nice. So thank you for that, Chris.
At least twice during it, I was like, well, what do you think? It's like, oh, he's not.
I miss him so much.
Yeah, I had to edit that out. So like, no, because like when I had to do the fucking Young Lion on my own, like it got like more listens than it did with the 2 of us because New Japan was hotter at the time, but it was shite. It was really shite.
Oh, anyway, let's start at least heading towards what we're supposed to talk about today. Obviously, because I've been pretty missing in action recently on the Stardom cast, we have got 4 shows to go through for you tonight. A couple of which we are probably going to skim over and give you the edited highlights and our thoughts on some of the main storylines. But obviously, we're going to be going through the Korakuen show, the 5-star special at Korakuen from the 28th of September. Good God, September feels like a long time away. And the Yokohama Cinderella show from the 3rd of October. Before we do go into that, though, just quickly, we're not going to be talking about the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League shows. We'll be talking about it a little bit at the end of the podcast, but we won't be reviewing the shows simply because they aren't up in their entirety yet, because lol Stardom World. So what we will do is on Sunday, I promise this time, there'll be no Rob reasons. I promise I'll be here on Sunday. We'll be reviewing those first 2 Goddesses of Stardom Tag League shows. And then, fingers crossed, we are going to attempt... Hopefully this goes down well with the community, but we're going to try and make this podcast a weekly thing. Simply because if we leave it monthly, at the rate that Stardom is pumping out shows, there is just simply too much to talk about in one show if we only do it, once a month. So we're going to try and do it weekly. Of course, this obviously... completely depends on Stardom's upload times, because obviously this Sunday on the 17th there is another Korakuen show which won't be up in time for us to actually review it, so we'll have to do that the following week. But yeah, let us know if us doing this weekly, 2 twats talking about Stardom, if that's what you want to hear on a weekly basis. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're not going to review those 2 shows. We'll be doing that next week. However, something we are going to talk about is something from all the way back, Chris, on the 22nd of September, which, good God, how long ago does that feel? We're talking, of course, about the 5-Star Grand Prix special show in Osaka from the Edion Arena, Osaka, number 2, in front of 294 people. So just whizzing through the 2 opening matches. In match 1, Azumi defeated Natsu Samiya at 7 minutes and 24 seconds with the Azumi Sushi. And then in match 2, Death Yamasan and Konami defeated Riho and Saya Ida at 8 minutes and 7 seconds with the Okana Roll. Match 3 then saw Jungle, Kiona and Himika go to a 20-minute time limit draw. Now, sorry, not 20-minute time limit draw, 15-minute time limit draw. Now, Chris, I am fully aware that this match has one of your bugbears, and there's a very, very high chance that you are going to rant about it. So, before you do, and you have every right to, I just want to say, the glaring thing that we're going to talk about aside, this was a very, very, very good match.
This was a good match, yeah. Himika was surprisingly fast. You don't really know from being fast even through the 5-star, but she kept up with Jungle. You keep forgetting how big she is how fast she is rather for how big she is. So, yeah, like the match itself, I have no real issues with. It's probably a high 7, verging on a low 8, which is really good for one of these minor shows. But 2 things. 1, this had no booking reason to exist, and that is shown because B, there's a time limit draw for no fucking reason because you didn't want either person to lose, but also you didn't want, you wanted both of them on the show, and you couldn't apparently have put them anywhere else on the show, so they're here. Because why not?
I agree. I agree on both counts. The time limit draw, I do sort of understand. Because obviously you've got Jungle Kiona especially, who is going on to far bigger things at Korakuen and then again at Yokohama. With Himika, she's just come out of the 5-star off a really, really good 5-star. She's going into the Yokohama show looking for the tag titles. So I understand the need to keep both women strong. However...
Yeah, but don't book for match, man.
Exactly. If you want to keep both people strong, don't pit them against each other. I mean, would it have made so little sense to have Jungle take on one of Oida Tai one-on-one? One of the underlings. Why not Saki? Why not have a tag team match rather than the 6-woman tag that followed it? And why not have Jungle versus Saki in a one-on-one match and have Himika take on someone else, have them both have wins?
Well, you've been throwing Rio with random people, right? So just put Rio with Jungle or something. Like, you could have reorganized this card so easily, and it has no reason to exist apart from we needed something big on this show. Despite the fact there was a title match on this show, which was actually pretty good. But yeah, like, I don't know, the booking, the more I thought about it, the less booking sense this made. And like, I'm not one for big matches for big matches' sake. It's sort of why I tuned out of NXT when it went to Vitelli. So,
I do agree with you, and I think, like, your thoughts are completely validated. I think your thoughts are slightly exacerbated by the fact that it was yet another time limit draw, and Stardom seemed to be spamming that a little bit in their booking. We seem to have witnessed a lot of time limit draws recently.
Remember when at Stardom is again, but Queen's Quest Civil War went to had a story reason to exist, went to a draw, everyone looked good, and it was like, cool, great little way to start off Stardom, well done. And then there was that triple threat which went to a draw, which kind of made no sense, but fine. And then that Queen's Quest versus Donna Del Mondo thing went to a draw, because okay, and then the 5-star happened, and it was like draw. And then as soon as we go out with that 5-star, spoilers, there's 2 fucking draws. They're not shocking anymore. Like, I'm thinking about like other promotions. And for example, Noah has had like maybe the same amount of draws as Stardom had, but they spread them out through the year. So at least they're either shocking or necessary. So they've either been in like a tournament setting, or in like the double title match, or like when it was Suzuki taking on Nakajima, or like All Japan. Off the top of my head, they've had two. It was Yoshida versus Nomura, which worked because both were feuding, but both needed to not lose, so that makes sense. And then that 6-man, which is basically just a don't worry, we'll be back after Corona. So, and like now Stardom, when something goes to a draw, I'm just like, again, it's not a shock.
I think the problem is, you've just said Noah have done roughly the same mad draws, but they spread them out over the year. Yeah. That's the problem. We've had so many time limit draws condensed into maybe the last 3 or 4 months. And, we're just, again, if we hadn't have had so many draws before this, it would have been, I wouldn't have looked on it so negatively. The time limit draw, I mean, not the match. Again, the match is great, and I want to talk about a couple of bits of the match in a minute. But, again, we didn't need one here. Have them go 14 minutes and just have someone win, because ultimately Jungle needed the win more than Himeka did here. And if, again, like you said before, you can just reshuffle the card. There was only 5 matches on this card, and I understand they've got times to go, but, just have a little rejig. There's no need to have yet another time limit draw. And I understand the attraction of having Jungle versus Himeka, because that is a very, a powerful match. You consider, obviously, how well Himeka did in the 5-star. You consider what Jungle's got going on at this time. It's a drawing match. I feel like it didn't need to go to yet another draw. However, let's move away from that. I want to go back to something you said about Himeka. We're continuing to develop Himeka as more than just the Behemoth bodyguard. There was such a lovely moment when Jungle went for the sliding lariat and Himeka seamlessly arm dragged away out of it. And it's not something you expect from someone of Himeka's size. She was so quick and nimble on her feet, and you put it perfectly. She kept up with Jungle. And even when Jungle was working Himeka's back, Himeka was selling it brilliantly. She couldn't get Jungle off the top rope. She continued to sell. Also, Jungle getting Himeka into the Jungle Buster position. Absolutely class. Love that.
Mm-hmm. And it was perfectly timed as well.
It really was. Really was. I did give it an 8, I'll be honest, because finish aside, that's not the wrestler's fault. The match was wrestled at a great pace. It held my interest. There was little story beats. Both women looked strong, and it had a really, really good closing stretch. I think it did deserve the 8 in the end.
Yeah, it's verging on an 8 for me. I don't know. I think, honestly, the booking thing is holding it back, and I know some of the wrestlers felt. But external factors do play into wrestling matches more than really any other medium. Like, when you're watching a Marvel movie, unless you're doing what I've been doing and watching them all in sequence, you don't notice that there's a fake-out death every fucking Marvel movie. But, no, seriously, fuck's sake, I hate it. From, like, Captain America to Guardians of the Galaxy, all of them have fucking fake-out. It's awful. Anyway, but, like, here, because we are watching it sequentially, and also, like, because it's Japanese promotion several times weekly, this stacks up really fast, and they've used the draw card too many times. They cannot use this draw card for the rest of the year.
No, and I've got a horrible feeling they probably are going to. So
it's like they want everyone to put on like 30-minute classics, and then forgot they put a time limit in place.
Yeah, I mean the crowd are really into this. Let's not be around the bush with that. Yeah, massively, really good crowd reaction. There was actually throughout all of these shows, especially for Yokohama. Yokohama had a really, really, really good crowd. We move on then. Match 4 saw the Oedo tag team of Bea Priestley, Saki Kashima, and Natsuko Tora defeat the Queen's Quest team of Momo Watanabe, Utami, and Saya Kamitani at 13 minutes and 28 seconds with the Kamigoye. And then match 5, the main event, was the Artist of Stardom title match with the DDM team and the champions of Julia, Maika, and Syuri defending and retaining against the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Starlight Kid, and Tam Nakano. Though, let's face it, Chris, the titles were very, very much secondary in this match.
Yeah, this was, with the exception of Starlight and Micah, all this was here to just set up Shuri and Mayu and Julia and Tam. I continue to love Tam and Julia's dynamic, which is almost a rehash of Julia and Hannah's dynamic in that, like, they just don't like each other, do they?
It's very similar. No, I got that, especially in the tag match at Korakuen. I got that vibe, definitely.
Did you see the promo that Tam cut on Julia after their 5-star match?
I can't remember. Which one was that?
It was second to last day of a 5-star, and then afterwards, when Tam won, she was like, "Julia, you are trash. You are trash that floats through. You are trash that floats through space. You are space trash."
I love her. She's great. Absolutely great.
No one else can get away with cutting a promo like that. Imagine if, like, I don't know, Okada, if he wanted to decide to do something good nowadays, picked up a mic and went, "You're trash."
This match, it made me remember why Tam versus Julia is the most hype feud in Stardom at the moment. And considering we went into this match with the Mayu versus Shuri build relatively cold, in fact, I'll be honest, completely cold, I thought they did a very, very good job over these two matches, this and the main event of Korakuen. They did a fantastic job of hyping it because, oh my god, the chemistry those two have is unreal.
Yeah, it's almost too good to be. I think it's not quite as good as the chemistry Shuri and Momo would have. I'm kind of still sad that match got cancelled for obvious reasons, but I'm so sad about it. But yeah, but we know that these people mix because we've been in tag matches before, but like when they were sort of a vocal point of this match, it was even better and just really strong stuff from this whole match. Starlight's also getting better. It's something we can bring up more at Yokohama, but like she's actually starting to hit her moves with some form of power, which was my biggest problem coming into Starlight this year. And also Micah, she's started doing this thing, and it's not something that suits her, and she needs to stop. She keeps trying to wrestle like a power wrestler, and she's not big enough.
I think it's something she'll grow into. I think I do see your point, but it didn't really bother me, I'll be honest.
I think the problem is she started trying to do that in like her last few 5-star matches, which were against Utami and Jungle, and it's like, why are you trying to be a power wrestler against Utami and Jungle, of all people?
Yeah, you're not going to win in a fight with Utami in that regard, are you?
It's like if you're trying to get over, like, I am the best technical wrestler in the world, no one can out-grapple me, and then you try to debut that character against Zack Sabre Jr. It's just not going to work.
They did a fantastic job of building Shuri here as just a real fucking menace. There was a great moment. It was my moment of the night when Starlight Kid goes for the Kishan bomb on Julia. So she sat on Julia's back, and Shuri just walks in, buzzsaw kicks Starlight Kid off of Julia across the ring. It was beautiful.
What kind of like how nonchalantly she was.
She did. It was proper like she might as well have been whistling as she strolled up to poor Starlight and then punted her across the ring.
She's just going up and in her head. No chance, dude.
It was brilliant. Julie, by the way, low-key one of the best hammerlock DDTs I've seen.
It is a pretty good... She's pretty good at it. She gets it in there naturally, which is something people have struggled with. Tessa Blanchard struggled with that when she started using it.
Yeah, she did.
But again, she also struggled with not being racist. So.
Yeah, struggled with not being a dick. But yeah, overall, I love this match. The chemistry that all 6 women had. And again, I'm going to say it again, I think Julia over the 3 nights, or the 4 nights if we're counting Nagoya, she is so improved from when we first started this podcast. And there are little bits that still gripe me a little bit. But how much she has grown into this role, how much she's grown into just this arrogant dickhead, which she was with Starlight Kid, especially towards the start of the match, just this arrogant disdain she got for this person, and how well, I'm just going to ruin it now, because her match with Tam at Yokohama is a bona fide match of the year candidate, and I just loved it. And I think when she's got someone she's got this chemistry with, she's capable of putting on these absolute classics, and I can't wait to see what she does with people later on in this year, because at the moment she is on fire.
I was my thoughts on Julia for the Yokohama. I'm trying to not give away all my thoughts and everything.
Okay. What did you give this match then, Chris?
I gave it a mid to high 7. As a match, it's not as good as Jungle versus Himika. It's almost like your standard B-show main event, just with a title on the line.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think in terms of that, and also in terms of a setup for Yokohama, the match on the Korakuen show was much better.
No, I agree. I agree with that. So, with that being said, let's move on then to our second show, which was the 5-star special in Korakuen from the 28th of September from Korakuen Hall in front of 407 people. We opened the show with Rio defeating Hanan at 5 minutes and 11 seconds with the crossface. To be perfectly honest, it was a pretty run-of-the-mill match for Rio. Just sort of was there.
Rio's meant to be this big outsider draw, and for someone who's this big outsider draw, they're doing a whole lot of nothing with her.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of program at the moment for Rio. She just seems to be stuck with random people in tags or doing nothing single matches.
I'm kind of fine with that. I have my gripes with Rio, and they've not kind of went away, so I'm kind of fine with her just being in nothing mid card and openers. So
no, that's fair enough. Hanan looked good. Her submission game's really strong, but again, high angle crossface for the win. I gave it 4 stars. It's not one you need to go out of your way to watch at all. Really sad next as Itsuki Hashino has to announce her immediate retirement from in-ring competition. She was supposed to have
Tam, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was supposed to have a final match at Korakuen that night, but unfortunately she had to cancel it due to illness. She says that she's been having treatment for an unexplained physical condition. There was a chance for recovery, but apparently not anymore. In fact, saying it will only get worse if she carries on wrestling. Rossi Ogawa then made a presentation, and that was it. What a horrible way to go out.
It's a real shame, isn't it? Because she was in the class with the Sayas, wasn't she?
Yes.
And you never really got to see much potential from her, not just because the two Sayas are so, they're such naturals that she kind of just fell into the background.
I think as well, she struggled, especially recently, she struggled so much with injury. It's such a shame, not even to be able to get her planned final match. It's heartbreaking for her, and our heart goes out to her. So hopefully she manages to make a go of something and does well in whatever she does in the future. Match 2 then, we had B. Priestley defeating Saya Kamatani at 9 minutes and 32 seconds with Plan B. Chris, your opinion, and are you a fan of the returning B. Priestley, and does it change Oedo Tai's dynamic for you?
Oedo Tai has someone who's actually finishing matches, so
it's instantly an improvement on Tora. Instantly.
I found, because she's for Plan B is for Regalplex, and I was like, she's not using the Queen's Landing, so maybe she's changing it up, because for Queen's Landing, at least for her, because she's not big either, she's not all that tall. And I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Manami Toyota was quite tall. So when she did it, it made more sense. But when B did it, it's just sort of a bit awkward. But so I was like, this is a bit better. But then she used it in the Momo match. So
well, I quite like that. When you've got
the secondary finishes.
Yeah, exactly. You need to pull out that finish. I mean, I can't even remember the last time Momo finished someone with the Peach Sunrise.
Oh yeah, but Peach Sunrise hasn't been used for ages, has it?
I mean, someone's going to say on the Discord now about she finished someone with it in the 5-star, but I don't think she did.
That all blends together, though.
I mean, she probably did. So if she did, I apologise. But the thing is, she isn't overusing
she's not using
it
every match. Yeah, she's like mostly using like B drivers and meteors right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, this match was fine. Nothing offensive. Saya's works well with babyface Fire. She's still a bit ropey on the selling, but B Priestley doesn't tend to do limb matches, so she was fine here. Yeah. I'm fine with her being back. I'm just fine with Stardom's roster being a bit more filled out now that the not the pandemic's ending, but now that restrictions in Japan are a bit lesser. So that should be fun. I'm more looking forward to Hater being back than having B back, to be completely honest. But I'm fine with B being back.
Yeah, I mean, I thought these two had pretty decent chemistry. Piggybacking on what you said, it wasn't a limb match, so Saya's lack of selling didn't bother me. There was quite a few story threads running through this. Of course, you've got B's betrayal of Queen's Quest, and then, of course, you've got Saya and Utami winning the tag belts when B and Jamie had to vacate them. So you got little story threads going through, just a little bit of fight, something that helps that storyline burn.
There is one thing I'm really excited about with B being back.
What's that?
And that's B Priestley sweary promos.
yeah, they are good. Though it did make me laugh when she was just like, Saya, you're crap. Momo, you're crapper. And it was like, oh my god. I hear stuff like that on the playground.
My favourite thing from her this year was at No People Gate after Saya came out to go, I'm going to team with Utami. And she was like, Utami, you are a loser. And because she so desperately wants to be Japanese. And she's like, and teaming with some Gopar young girl is not going to fucking change that.
She was never in danger of losing this match, ever. Bless Saya, but she was never going to lose this match, especially as we were setting up the match with Momo for the SWA Championship. Overall, I thought they had really good chemistry. I gave it high 6, low 7. Again, nothing offensive.
I'm feeling mid 6 on this one.
Mid 6? Okay, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not in the mood to fight you today, mate. I'm really not.
But like mid 6 is in line with your ratings. It's literally, I wasn't a fight. I was agreeing with you.
Anyway, match 3, tag team match, saw the DDM team of Maika and Himeka defeat Starlight Kid and Saya Ida at 9 minutes and 59 seconds with the Enkara Toshi. Really good way of getting Himeka and Maika heated up ready for their tag team championship match. Chris, what did you think?
This is fine. Nothing bad, nothing amazing, but yeah, it's basically a warm-up match for the team of Maika and Himeka, who have decent chemistry, good big man versus little man thing, apart from Maika keeps trying to do fucking power moves.
To be fair, she can do that against Saya Ida and Starlight.
Oh yeah, because they're approximately 3'2".
Yeah.
Everything meals bigger than Saya Ida and Starlight Kid.
Bless them.
But
they could absolutely break us both in half.
Oh, but they could break us both. Oh Christ, I sometimes live in fear of Saya Ida chops, but yeah, nothing. There's nothing really to talk about. And like, it's a good little condensed showcase for the DDM team going into their title match, which again is another one they're going into a bit cold. So
yeah, exactly. Starlight Kid, there was a lovely moment when Maika goes for this big vertical suplex and Starlight counters it into an absolutely mental DDT. It looked really, really good, and she broke it out at Yokohama as well.
Some RBD shit.
It was amazing. And also, since when does Saya have a sit-out spine buster? Fucking love that shit. Break that out more.
Yeah, to be fair, both the sides are at the point of their game where they're adding new moves every match, just because they're at that stage of their career where they're just sort of like, they've got the fundamentals apart from selling.
Oh my god, I've just remembered the move that Saya Kamatani's put into hers. Oh, I'm so excited.
We will get to that.
Oh my god, so excited.
Yeah, for the most part, this match is like the previous match. It's a good preview going into the Yokohama show, but nothing needs to go out your way for.
No, fair enough. So we then move on to match 4, which was the Captain's Fall match. I know. Tokyo Cyber Squad defeating Oida Tai via DQ at 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Before you rank, Chris, the rules were that the match can end in 2 ways. You can either pin the opposition's team captain, which bizarrely is announced as Natsu Samiya, or you can defeat both the other two team members. So obviously you've got the team of Konami, Jungle, and Death. So if you don't pin the captain, you have got to pin both Konami and Death Yamasan, or just Jungle, whichever way you go about it.
I'm pretty sure that's the Lucha thing.
I'm not overly familiar with it, but it worked. I didn't hate it. Not the concept, anyway.
I remember it being a thing in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006.
Yeah. Chris, explain the decision to have Natsu Samiya as captain.
Okay, so here's my thinking. Natsu Samiya doesn't like going into the ring. So if she's not in the ring, she can't be pinned.
Yeah, do you know what? Fair enough. Because I thought, with Natsu being announced as captain, because everyone expected it to be Tora, and I'm sure that Tokyo Cyber Squad expected it to be Tora as well, and sort of that was the big sort of ruse from Uedatai, but it didn't even play into the fucking finish, because shock of the pissing day, we get another DQ. Now, I understand completely that this was then going to sort of go over into the Yokohama show for the bigger match, which sort of begs the question why the fuck we had this match here to end in DQ. I am going to let it slide, partly because of what happens after the match. But yeah, it was very, very unnecessary, this match.
I think they wanted to set up the Yokohama show. The best way to do it was in the lead up to that 6-man at ECW, not Barely Legal. What's the one we watched?
Heatwave.
Yeah. What you needed to do, and like in the lead up to that, they had like a 3-person, 3 matches with the 6 people involved, and then they got to have a stipulation. I think something like that would have been a much better way, rather than like, okay, we're going to have the match, but not really, because Tora be Tora, and throw out the ring. Of course, someone like it's just stupid, and I hate it.
What I don't,
I'm so done.
I know.
I'm so done with Tora. I'm so done with it.
What I don't understand is, now I understand, okay, let's assume for a moment, I understand that we need to get to Yokohama. That's our big show. We need this big angle going into Yokohama. Fine, completely understand that. From a kayfabe point of view, Uedatai are setting out to destroy Tokyo Cyber Squad. That's been their MO. That's what this match is set up about. And I know that it was Jungle who sort of announced this match, but why on earth, if you're Uedatai, would you get yourself disqualified, which would then hand them the win, and not be asked about it one bit? I don't understand that. I understand the need to get it to Yokohama, but I don't understand the fact that Tora then deliberately got herself DQ'd so that Tokyo Cyber Squad won. I don't understand that.
I think in wider term, it's because the storyline went on longer than we expected it to. But in kayfabe, I guess like Tora knows that Jungle will get mad and up the stakes to something that have Jungle up the stakes to something where Uedatai are more likely to win, because they don't seem more likely to win an actual 6-man setting. Despite the fact they have a win over the 6-person championship.
Yeah.
I literally just think it's because this was meant to be over when the Yokohama was meant to take place 2 months ago. And it didn't, so I think that's literally just it.
I mean, it was saved slightly by the impassioned speech from Jungle, who then challenges Uedatai to another match, saying this time it's going to be no DQ, both units' futures being on the line. The idea of Jungle being just possessed and just this complete desperation to prove herself and just wildly, without thought, putting stuff on the line, it adds a great wrinkle to the story. The fact that she's driven wildly by her emotions, I do enjoy that. And that's why I'm not shitting all over this match, because ultimately it's a means to an end, ultimately. The DQ element didn't really make sense from an Oedo Tai point of view, but then again, what does make sense from the Oedo Tai point of view? I did enjoy that the only person who got a pinfall for Tokyo Cyber Squad was Death.
Death needs to look strong. She needs to look strong.
Keep Death strong.
If you're going to debut someone against Death, Death needs to look strong. Former high-speed champion.
Overall, I gave this a 5. I don't think there's, it was there. It was a means to an end. This entire thing was done with having Jungle announce that no DQ match at Yokohama. I think that was the whole point. So I'm not going to shit on it. I'm just going to give it 5.
I completely agree, yeah.
So then we move on then to a 6-woman tag team match with the marvelous team of Mei Hoshizuki and Nutra, which is Rin Kadokura and Takumi Ihora. I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced any of those names. Defeating the Queen's Quest team of Azumi, Momo Watanabe, and Utami Hayashishita in 20 minutes and 36 seconds with the backslide reversal. This match fucking slapped.
Oh, this fucked so hard. First of all, when we say marvelous team, we've been like, that's where they're from, not like they were a marvelous team. But I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to describe people in terms of attire because I'm so bad with new names.
Okay, I'll just tell you
the exception of Ihora.
Hoshizuki is the high speed one.
Oh, the one in like the tie-dye.
Yeah, the one who basically went one-on-one with Azumi, and then Kadokura is the one that pretty much wasn't just non-existent.
She just didn't exist because at some point, Shiki was just dropkick.
That dropkick barrage was absolutely fucking brilliant.
I was just right going, okay, is that over? Nope. Is that, when like you're gonna cross a somewhat busy road, is like, you're gonna stop to let me through it? No. Are you gonna stop? No. Are you gonna stop? No.
Are you comparing Hoshizuki's offense to a motorway?
No, I don't cross the motorway after the accident. But yeah, I'm so glad Ihora, every time she was like, she was taken down a few times in this match, and every time she did, felt like Queen's Quest had conquered a beast. Like, it was insane how, like, strong Ihora was. By the way, her kicks, ouch, ow. Some say you can still hear the fucking kicks. Like, it's not even that. It's the fucking speed she does them with as well. Because you see it, and she's around Himika's size, and it's like, you're not going to move fast. And then when you can't see her feet when she's kicking, it's like, what? How?
She's deceptively quick in the same way we talked about Himika, but this was even quicker. And this is no disrespect to Kadokura or Hoshizuki. I thought they were great, but Ihora was just a completely different level. The chemistry she had with all three of Queen's Quest, even Azumi, who is the less experienced, if you will, or the high speed person as opposed to, I don't want to use the word heavyweight, but you understand what I mean. Her strikes with Momo were everything I wanted them to be and more. Her stuff with Utami was amazing, and I would love to see a singles match between Aura and any of these 3 Queen's Quest women, because honestly, it was absolutely incredible. Her striking, her selling, she felt like a star in the ring. She really did. She felt like the main person in this match.
She also has like a very like this. I always, when I say someone has a striking look, imagine if you saw them walking down. Like, for example, imagine if you saw Sanada with his hair walking down the street, or Kento Miyahara being the most beautiful man in the world walking down the street. But imagine if you saw Takumi Ihora walking down the street. It's like this giant with like in terms of looks, she reminds me of Bill Nakano, just in terms of she's just the coolest thing in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. She draws your eye. You can't help but watch it. And I was physically waiting for her to come into the ring. And again, that's no disrespect to the other women on the Marvelous team. She carried herself in such a way. It was amazing. And then, obviously, the stuff with Hoshizuki and Azumi was absolutely brilliant as well. That flash pin closing stretch, breathtakingly quick. Loved it. And then, ultimately, quite bizarrely, I thought, when you consider who's in the ring, it was actually Hoshizuki who got the pinfall win over Izumi, which we assume...
Ihara brought that up, though, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
She was... So I think that's what we're trying to do, because we're both part of that alliance thing, so I think we're just trying to book a wee angle.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I am all for that Hoshizuki versus Izumi match, and post-match, Aurora pleads with Utami to let her cut the queue to challenge for the red belt, meaning there's a possibility of Mayu versus Aurora 2, Electric Boogaloo. Utami clearly wants to see that as well, because Utami's like, yeah, all right, I'll just take on the winner. And then Izumi asks Hoshizuki for a match, which she sort of accepts, whilst asking Izumi if she wants to be a tag team, which Izumi sort of accepts, and then that's it.
They might as well have handed each other a note. It's like, do you want to be my tag team partner? Yes or no?
Yeah, very, very indecisive. But what a match. This is one I do encourage you to go out your way. These last two matches, go and watch them. This is great. Anyone that is a complete marvellous novice like myself, this is the first time I've seen Aurora, because I still haven't seen that match from February. However, I am going to go and watch that this week. This was a really, really good introduction, a really, really good match. Loved it, gave it 9.
I gave it 9 as well, and can't really think of a 6-man this year that I've liked more. No, I don't think there is one. Like, in terms of like just wrestling as a whole, not just Stardom, because in Stardom, this is like top 10 of the year overall in Stardom.
Pardon me. Oh yeah, but absolutely, like absolutely.
But in terms of like an actual 6-man that I liked more, I was about to say Stadium Stampede. That wasn't a 6-man.
No, it was definitely a 10-man.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, so this is probably my favorite 6-man tag match of the year. So
yeah,
and I love a good 6-man.
So then we moved on to the main event, which saw Mayu and Tam Nakano. Tam Nakano? Tam Nakano, who the fuck's that? Oh, God. I'm not even drunk. And Julia and Shuri go to a 30-minute time limit draw. Now, Chris, what we just spoke about with the time limit draw, this makes sense.
This does make sense, but again, the issue is in like, I find it hard to watch matches in a bubble and within the context that took place. There's been so fucking many.
I took myself out of that simply because a draw made sense here. It didn't make sense on the previous show. It doesn't make sense for quite a few matches we've seen that have gone to time limit draws. However, here, I think it did everything it needed to. From Mayu being unnaturally subdued during a pre-match promo, expressing just that one moment in that pre-match promo where Mayu turns to Tam and says, "I'm nervous, I'm anxious because of Shuri's kicks." Shuri is instantly put over as a credible threat.
Yeah, like straight away. It's a perfect way to get him over, especially going to the match, which, as we said, was a bit cold going in, and like I think it was going to be cold regardless, because it was going to happen in the middle of a 5-star. It just stands out a bit more since it's happening post 5-star.
Yeah.
In this match, again, everyone's chemistry keeps going. Mayo and Shuri, who just sort of have to beat the shit out of each other as a means to an end, and then Julia and Tam, who seem to enjoy beating the shit out of each other. Like, but I feel like both of them get up. It's like, okay, today I'm gonna get ready, do what I normally do to hype myself up for a match, and then I'm going to beat the shit out of the other person.
I mean, the disparity between the two feuds is glaring here, because aside
one's
from...
like a competitive rivalry, and the other one's like, I want you to die. Why aren't you dead? I resent the fact that you have a neck.
Julia had one move, and it was a DDT, and then the rest of it was just utter strikes, impassioned, fiery, beating the shit out of each other. The slapping exchange was fucking great because it felt real. There was no pulled slaps there. They left all the wrestling to Mayu and Shuri, all of the brawling to Julia and Tam, and it felt so good. And I even enjoyed the fact that Mayu, to start off with, took on this completely unnatural defensive style against Syuri, because you could see what she was talking about in that pre-match promo. I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I want to keep away from those kicks. Eventually, she has to engage Syuri because Syuri is so strike-heavy and so good in that MMA style, so she was able to get Mayu into unorthodox positions. I fucking love this. When we get towards the closing stretch, where we're hitting moves, but no one is able to cover because all 4 women are fucking knackered. Just the exhaustion of just basically they're hitting moves to get some respite because they've just poured everything into beating the shit out of each other. It was great.
Yeah, this is perfect way to send home for both feuds. It gave Mayu and Syuri a through line that it didn't really have up until that point. And again, it furthers Tam and Julia's dynamic. I can't remember, did Julia hit her back? She did. She hit her backdrop in this match. And the backdrop suits Julia down to a T.
Really does.
Because especially for how tall she is, like she's basically the only people taller than her on the roster is like Himika. So, like, she can just get them right up and then, like, fuck your neck, down you go.
Well, you make that, you've said that, the closing stretch, it swung from Mayu to Syuri at just this utterly lunatic pace. And then just as the time limit expired, Syuri hit this pile driver on Mayu, which she took all of on her neck and then sold like death. I mean, we know that Mayu's neck is made of rubber, but it was such a great way to finish the match of Syuri being strong. I mean, I wouldn't have been opposed to Syuri pinning Mayu here. You know, have it go 28 minutes and have Syuri pin Mayu. But the time limit draw is, you know, it works. It's fine. I'm not gonna moan about that.
I'm sorry, but when you say sales like death, I just imagine Mayu getting powered, getting up.
Imagine. Takes on the Death Yama-san gimmick. Post-match, Julia proposes no time limit for the Yokohama matches, which makes perfect fucking sense. And sort of gave me a like, oh, thank God, no more time limits in the main event. Oh, thank you.
Well, that means it would have to go. They have like, what, 45-minute time limits for time matches, don't they? So I don't know, because they never get anywhere near reaching their time limits.
Whenever they say there's no time limit, they go nowhere near. However, I love this match. I think it did such a good job. And we've said it we've said it a few times now, that Mayu versus Syuri was a cold feud because of the situation, because of having to cancel back in August. So reheating the feud to the point where I was chomping at the bit to watch this. I really was. And Tam and Julia, I was like, what are they going to do next? Short of actually ripping each other's heads off, they can't go any further without physically killing one of them. But yeah, did a really, really good job of this. I gave it 9. It made me want to watch more, and that's all we can ask for in a main event like this.
That's what you need going into your biggest show of the year. So yeah, no, I'm giving an 8, and I completely understand that I shouldn't let the culture of time limits dictate this, but like the culture of time limits is just so tiring to me. So.
Fair enough. I'm not going to complain. Fine. So obviously this was all to set up what is Stardom's biggest show of the year, which it's a shame that it's in COVID-restricted times, but nevertheless, originally at the new Yokohama Budokan, we were supposed to have 2 nights in August, but of course those 2 both got cancelled, and we've condensed them into 1 night at the Yokohama Budokan on the 3rd of October. Stardom Yokohama Cinderella in front of 1,007 people. Right off the bat, Chris, before we talk about anything, this show is easily show of the year. What a fucking show.
It's a great show. I think I still prefer 9th Anniversary just a little bit, but like they're sort of equal pegging for me.
Was that Momo versus Mayu, yeah?
That was Momo Mayu and Arisa Utami. Well, I will say the highs on this were higher, but I think 9th Anniversary was more consistent because a lot of the middle matches here was sort of means to an end, get people over, and I'm completely fine with that. They had a perfect reason to exist, but like as opposed to the other one where it was like almost a takeover where every match was necessary. Well, it was like great. So
looking down this card, and I'm not arguing with you. Looking at this card, there is 1, 2, 3, 4,
matches,
5, 6. Out of the 9 matches, I would actively encourage people to check out 6 of them.
Yeah, no, it's an incredibly high hit percentage, but that's for me because it's a longer card. It feels like less. Like that's the thing. I like small condensed bursts of action, like the 9th anniversary. It's just personal preference, and again, they're both as good as each other for me. So
yeah, fair enough. And what a way to open this show with match 1, the High Speed Championship, with Azumi the champion retaining, defeating Starlight Kid at 11 minutes and 27 seconds with the modified arm breaker. For a start, they gave the High Speed Championship match time, Chris.
Oh my god, it went longer than 3 minutes.
It did.
And like they kept up the pace for 3 minutes with like some of the exception of when we were outside, because you know some selling is kind of necessary. But like for the most part, it was just a high speed match. The biggest problem with a high speed match being fixed, and that's when you're finally getting into it. It's over. So you were into it for like the whole thing for once, which was great. We mentioned it before about DDT. Oh my god.
It's incredible. It looks brilliant. It really, really does. Mm-hmm. And it supports what you said earlier about Starlight Kid. The last couple of months, the improvement, especially in her offensive style, has been really, really telling. And here it was on show for everyone to see here.
Exactly. Not to take away from Azumi, who like I think is definitely the star of this match, just in terms of how consistently great she is, how good she is at taking advantage of open limbs, like it's an actual fight. Like if in an actual fight, if someone left an arm exposed, you would not let that go. You would go straight for that arm, which she does every time, and it's great.
She even modified her offense to target Starlight's arm. Like, she didn't start by attacking the arm. We started in a very stereotypical, traditional high-speed match, and then it sort of transcended. There was just a moment when, you know, we talked about Jungle versus Azumi, when Jungle left her arm exposed and Azumi took advantage of it. Starlight did the exact same here, but Azumi then modified her offense. There was one moment where she did the double foot stomp, which she does in every match, but she targeted the arm with it, and just that subtle thing it got me so invested. I was like, yes, like, I love that shit.
It's small things that should happen more. Like remember in G1 28 when Juice Robinson's arm was fucked, and then Naito did like his drop kick in the corner, but modified it to hit his arm, and then like all of Naito's shit was around the arm. It was great, and it's just great. These two wrestle like they are really familiar with each other, which to be fair they are, because they're in like tag matches against each other.
Yeah,
every show, so that makes sense. But like I can't remember the last time they actually had a. I'm gonna check this actually. Last time we actually had a singles match.
While you're checking that, if we were to do a Stardom End of Year Awards, Azumi would be up there as my vote for a Stardom Wrestler of the Year. She's consistently been putting on bangers, and I think she had an absolutely outstanding 5-star as well.
She's very consistent, but she's not at the point where she's having match of the years yet. That will come. She's still only 17, I'm pretty sure.
She's just turned 18.
I hate talented young people.
That's mental. When you consider that Mayu, who, quite honestly, in-ring wise, has been Stardom's Wrestler of the Year. You know, I'm not just saying that because Mayu is my favourite wrestler. I just don't think you can dispute that. Every match she has put on, you know, you look at her 5-star.
She definitely has been.
There's just no touching that. Even when she's been losing in the 5-star, she's been putting over opponents. She's 27, maybe 28 now, which means that Azumi's got another 10 years. That's ridiculous. Think about how good Azumi is going to be in 10 years. Jesus.
According... I'm assuming she doesn't become like another Hazuki who leaves early, and I hope not.
I Fingers crossed, yeah.
That would be great. But their last singles match was January 4th, 2018. So it's been a while since their singles match, if cagematch.net is to be believed. But yeah, this is what sort of the high speed thing is. Championship's best at these short bursts, sprints, and all killer no filler. As many cliches that you like to throw in there, just all of them. I'd give it like an 8, which is more than I thought I'd be giving it going in, because I thought it'd be going like 2 minutes. So
yeah, absolutely. The fact that they gave it time gives it far more scope to be a high 8 for me. I loved it. It grabbed you straight on, and it was a relentless pace throughout the 11 minutes. So yeah, absolutely banging match. To be fair, we did know it was going to be. If it was given the time, there's no way that these two weren't going to put on an absolute belter, and they did. So, yeah, what a fire starter.
I think it's don't. Fire starter.
You bastard.
An instigator. Looking at it, because like it's weird, because it's almost like this was taken from a mid card. Like in terms of like the normal pacing of these big Stardom shows, it normally starts with the kind of matches we see, the next 3 matches that we'd be seeing, like a death match, a match with one of the children, a Saya Ida tag match, stuff like that, and then goes into the title matches. So it's weird. It's almost like this is just taken out of the mid card and put there, and like sort of the pacing of the show from now on sort of reflects that up until we get to the top 5.
I agree. I think if you were going to do it in a traditional way, opening it with what we're going to go into now, match 2, that's not the way you want to open your biggest show of the year, but also a match that's on pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. So you've had to pay for this. You don't want to pay for this and have your opening match be, not a dud, but an introduction to a wrestler that's not been part of the Stardom roster. So you want something that's going to engage people. You want a match that's going to basically set Twitter alight, spread the word about how fucking good this show was, and that's the perfect match to do it to. Speaking of debuts, of which there was quite a few on this show, we go on to match 2 with Mina Shirakawa debuting and defeating Hanan at 5 minutes and 7 seconds with the implant DDT.
Okay.
I'm not making that up. That is legitimately her finish. The implant DDT.
First of all, have you seen the main promotion she has listed on Cage Match?
The Best Body Japan Pro Wrestling.
Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
Which I am pretty sure I've seen posted about somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where.
You don't want to tell everyone on the podcast where you've seen that.
No, literally, I've literally seen that somewhere, but I don't know where I've seen it, and it's going to annoy me because I think someone was memeing about it in one of the Puro groups. Anyway, looking at her career, she's mostly been like Tokyo Joshi and DDT. But to be fair, if her matches are as tip-based as we'd be led to believe by her name, that would make sense. You can't really tell how she is as a wrestler against Hanan. Like, Hanan's good, but she's a child.
Yeah. And in 5 minutes as well.
Yeah. Well, you can tell how someone is in 5 minutes. You just can't tell what their full potential is. She looked fine here. Everything was clean. There was no botches. She didn't actively annoy me, which is more than can be said for
most people.
Yeah.
Just a grumpy old fuck, aren't you, mate?
I'm so young. Yeah, it was fine. No issues, but also, but there's nothing I can really take from a Hanan match. She did have a time match in Nagoya, and that was good. So, but maybe she'll be fine. I don't know where she's being placed on the card. You probably know. You've done reading, so you probably know more than I do. So
I imagine, if you remember the discussion we had when we first started the podcast, so this is back in January, we talked about Bushiroad taking over Stardom and how they'd be pushing, in inverted commas, the good-looking wrestlers. And
yeah, but the thing is, that was what was coming out, but that hasn't really been.
It hasn't.
Like Jungle and Momo, they've been getting constant, like who were named as some of the quote unquote unattractive wrestlers were getting pushed.
Yeah, exactly. So. Momo was the name that stood out, which is just absolute lunacy. But there we are. If that was to be, believed, then Mina Shirakawa is, certainly going to be upper mid card. You can't tell at the moment, like you say. at the moment, her gimmick seems to be former model has big boobs. And certainly they are leaning into that with her Stardom Tag League team, which we'll get into in a moment. But what her nickname is the Fighting H Cup Graveyard Wrestler. I don't even know what that means, but
what? Sorry, say that again.
Her nickname apparently is the Fighting H Cup Graveyard Wrestler. Now I don't know what graveyard means, but that's apparently her nickname. I will say she has only been wrestling for 2 years. She started in August 2018, so 2 years experience.
For 2 years,
she looked fine.
She looked good for 2 years. But also, it's hard enough to justify to people why I watch Stardom.
Yeah.
This is going to make it worse.
Everything on Twitter at the moment has been gifs of Tam touching her boobs, which, I quickly have to scroll up just in case anyone is looking over my shoulder at what I'm looking at on Twitter. So thanks for that, Mina. We appreciate that. Lifelong gifts. Lovely. Anyway, let's move on to yet another debut. Match 3 saw Saya Iida and Rio defeat Natsu Sumiya and the debuting Yuna Manas at 8 minutes and 39 seconds, with Saya Iida getting the pinfall with a bridging Northern Lights suplex. Now, this was a fairly standard tag match used mainly to introduce the freelancer Yuna Manas. She's just wrapped up with Tokyo Joshi Pro, another Tokyo Joshi Pro wrestler that Stardom have nicked.
Won't be the
last. Not even in the last. Not even the last of the next 2 matches. However, I felt she struggled a little bit with timings.
She sucked.
Like when stuff was fine, she was great.
It was timings. It was also selling. She didn't seem to sell appropriately. She didn't seem to run the ropes properly. Like, nothing about her seemed to scream someone who should be working in the biggest women's promotion.
Mm.
And like, even the way she took Sairida's slap, she wasn't selling it like she was in pain. She was selling it like she was being slightly perturbed. And I don't know, just I don't know who signed her, but they clearly don't care about good wrestling.
It's one match. I mean, there have been wrestlers who have debuted, had wank matches, and have then gone on to be very, very good wrestlers. I don't think we can say, from a tag team match with Saya Iida and Natsu Sumiya, I don't think we can judge properly. Again, looking at a cage match profile, there are people that have said, she was really good in Tokyo Joshi Pro. Again, I know nothing about Tokyo Joshi Pro. I think Chris knows slightly more than I do, but only slightly.
I know a bit more. I've been meaning to actually check them out, but most of what I see is when TJPW wrestlers end up in DDT, and it looks fine. But problem is, it's another one of those things where what stops me getting into it is the fan base is mostly Maki Ito weirdos, and I don't want to have to discuss them to talk about wrestling that I enjoy. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, there was a couple of moments where Manas was a little bit off the game. There was a moment when Rio came off the top ropes for a cross body, and I think she was supposed to roll through and pick her up, but just couldn't get the grip, so that was a little bit awkward. There was a moment where her and Natsu had got Saya Iida and Rio in opposite corners, and Manas had to keep looking round to check if Sumiya was ready, and then she went. It was just a little bit clunky. I've got the feeling that if she is to be a mainstay on the Stardom roster, even if she's to remain a freelancer, but to wrestle for any lengthy amount of time on the Stardom roster, that she will get better. She's in a very Himika-style mold, but she's nowhere near as smooth as Himika, not from this tag match anyway. And I think that's what we've got to take from that. It's one match with, a fairly low-key match. It could be anything. It could be the situation has got to it. We don't know. We need more before we can make any sort of judgment. But this certainly wasn't a good match. It was nice to have the new green-haired Saya Iida winning. I think this might be the first match I've ever seen her win. So, especially after Natsu Sumiya pretty much finisher spammed for about 2 minutes, and somehow that wasn't the fucking finish.
WWE 2K19 bullshit, right?
Literally, Natsu Sumiya had stored all her finishers and hit all of them, and then Rio came in to break it up. I was like, how the fuck is that not the finish?
Yeah, well, Rio needs to look strong.
That is true. So yeah, that's that. I gave it 4 stars. It's not one I would check out.
I gave it a 4 as well.
So match 4 saw the much teased Donna Del Mondo 5th member, Natsupoi, defeat Death Yamasan at 4 minutes and 52 seconds with the bridging German suplex. Natsupoi is another freelancer who was last seen in Stardom in 2016, taking part in that year's 5-star, before going on to Tokyo Joshi Pro, and is now back. And, side note, was also trained by Unamanas. So, there you are. Make of that what you will. For a 5-minute death match, it was quick, crisp.
A death match.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I can see her only being an asset to the high speed division, and the quicker that I get a Natsupoi versus Azumi match, which seems to be where we're heading next, I am all for that, because she seemed quick. Everything hit. Everything looked natural. Everything looked smooth and crisp. I can see it being nothing but an asset, Chris.
Yeah, again, there's not much you can discern from a death match, but she's very consistent. It's a good person to put newcomers against, or in this case, returning comers. And she looked cool. Her moveset looks good. Nothing was botchy. She brings a big stick to the ring and looks like someone out of Great Showman. And hey, I think that's cool. And yeah, that's what? It's you're so upset that I don't like that I like Great Showman, and I've never understood.
I'm not. Do you know what? I've got nothing against the Great Showman. What I do have an issue with is being a primary school teacher and going through a phase of 7 months of hearing nothing but that fucking soundtrack sung by children who only know half the pissing words and can't decide a key to sing it in. That's the issue I have.
What's your least favourite song on the soundtrack from
all
that
of them?
experience?
Do you know what? Actually, no, I hate This Is Me. This Is Me is the worst thing to grace radio airwaves.
You break me down to dust.
Chris,
You're not a fan? Yes.
I love you, brother, but shut the fuck up.
You really don't like it, do you? Have you heard Katya singing it? She actually sings it really well.
I gave this 5 stars. As I've said, the quicker we get Natsupoi and Azumi in any sort of match, I am absolutely down for that, because the exchanges that they had in Nagoya were brilliant. So yeah, I look forward to that, and I look forward to seeing more Natsupoi matches, because again, from the 4 minutes and 52 seconds she was in with a comedy wrestler, she seemed very good. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. 5. I have a million dreams of the matches she could be having in Stardom.
Words cannot describe how much I hate you right now. Shut up.
I'm sorry.
Match 5 then saw a match for the vacant SWA Undisputed World Women's title. Of course, the title having been vacated by Jamie Hayter earlier on in the year, which saw Bea Priestley defeat Momo Watanabe at 10 minutes and 52 seconds with the Queen's Landing. Bit of a grudge match, Chris, with Bea's history of turning on Queen's Quest and then repeatedly calling out Momo for being crap.
Yeah, she didn't drop Momo on her head, so it's an improvement from her May match.
Positive, yeah, absolutely.
But this match was fun. Like, it felt longer than it was, not because it was bad, but because I felt they packed in a lot. It was a very dense match. Some of the kicks from Momo were like gunshots. Bea's a really good heel. In like a booking sense, this is sort of a means to an end, because they very clearly want the SWA belt on someone not from Japan, so it can be defended against most of the roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, when Itami was holding it, I feel she barely defended it. But one defense I remember was against fucking, what's her name, Zoe Lucas. And of course, that wasn't great because it was Zoe Lucas.
Poor Zoe Lucas. She's not that bad.
She's not that bad, but like...
She's not on Utami's level. No, I agree.
She's not that good. She's not that good either.
Bless her.
But yeah, I'm kind of happy that Bea's kept the Queen's Landing, because against Momo, she's thick as thick as she is tall, so it looks impressive while not looking bad. Because when B does it on someone around her height, it looks a bit awkward. Like when she did it to Mayu, I think. No, did she do it to Mayu? She must have done it to Mayu at some point. It looked a bit awkward.
I love the fact that you mentioned the kicks, because there was one moment, it was about 2 minutes into the match. The match went to the outside, B sitting on the floor, and I don't know if she didn't see that Momo was going to kick her in the back because she didn't tense properly, but Momo kicked her in the back, and B just screamed, "Oh my God!" And you could just tell that she was winded and she was down for fucking ages. I don't know why. It really, really tickled me. Proper visibly shocked and winded B, bless her. But it was fucking horrible. That leads to Momo kicking the post early on. And I haven't seen many, if any, B Priestley Lim matches. We mentioned it earlier in a match with Saya. I think she did pretty well with it. I mean, she targeted it pretty relentlessly for a good portion of this match. There was a one-legged crab from in between the ropes, which looked great after she kicked Momo off the ropes via a leg. They played on the fact that they knew each other really well from their times in Queen's Quest, with loads of reversals. There was a wonderful spot from Momo where she reverses a Queen's Landing straight into a Kamagoye. That looked fucking brilliant. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this match. B does eventually win, hitting a B trigger and then the Queen's Landing. But overall, I did enjoy the match. I enjoyed it, I think, a little bit more than you did.
I still really enjoyed it. It's just beyond, like, there wasn't a massive... I don't know what it is that held it back. It just kind of something held it back from greatness. Because I don't think it's for length. We had a match around this length in the opener and it was great. So I know, but again, as in the booking terms, this fulfills, this like scratches every itch, because I'm looking at this going, yeah, this all makes great sense, because they got a grudge match and got the SWA title on the type of wrestler they wanted it to be on. So
yeah, absolutely. What would you give that?
High 7 approaching an 8.
Yeah, I gave it a low 8, so that's about the same then.
Yeah.
So then we move to match 6, and this is a weird one. The losing unit must disband no disqualification tag team match, with Oedo Tai defeating Tokyo Cyber Squad at 13 minutes and 7 seconds when Konami turns on Jungle Kiona. Now, Chris, I'm not going to say
get out your bingo
that
card.
I didn't call this about 2 months ago, but I called this and I was still shocked.
I think that's the thing, because I think it's been drawn out so much that you just sort of like, they're probably just going to disband Oedo Tai at this point, because fuck Oedo Tai. But yeah, I was still sort of like, oh, okay. I think it's because Konami did a great job of like working with but not working with Jungle throughout the match. Like they did like a huddle at the beginning, but then after that they weren't really working together throughout a lot of the match.
There was out.
And then,
sorry, Chris.
Then you had TCS coming out attacking everyone.
Yeah, there was a sense of a united front from the majority of Tokyo Cyber Squad, and that plays into something I want to talk about in a second. There's a moment when Tora is about to come off the rope to put Jungle through a table, and Rina and Ruaka, who I'd forgotten had come out, were there holding onto her legs, desperate to keep her from putting Jungle through the table, and I thought that was really nice. Konami, considering she was in this match, she did a great job of not being in this match, because it was pretty much all Jungle. There was a wonderful bit of foreshadowing, and it took me twice watching it to actually pick it up. The pre-match promo from Tokyo Cyber Squad, of which they were all in, Death, Rina, Ruaka, Jungle, Konami, there was one person not wearing a Tokyo Cyber Squad shirt. Konami.
Oh, that's That's some One Piece foreshadowing bullshit there.
Honestly, I watched it. I watched it, didn't pick anything up, and then I was like, I'm sure she was just wearing a Stardom, and she was just wearing a Stardom Yokohama Cinderella shirt, and everyone else was wearing Tokyo Cyber Squad shirts. That's brilliant. That is amazing.
Yeah, but the thing is, beyond that, like the actual content of this match, there's not a ton to talk about. We've seen TCS take on Nagoya a fair bit recently, apart from one pile driver.
Oh my god, the pile driver.
I said this before we came in there. It's almost like Jungle and Konami went, right, so, Tori, we have to admit you did not have a great 5-star by anyone's standards.
She fucked a lot of people off. Let's put it that way.
Yes. But first, I heard about these two guys from the UK on this podcast, and we just sort of kept ripping on you. So we need to make them happy. So what we're going to do is we're going to like Bret Hart pile drive you, but also you're going to die.
It was almost like Tora completely forgot how to sell a pile driver and thought, I'm not going to tuck my neck straight away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for my head to crash into the table, then I'm going to tuck my neck.
I don't need to tuck my neck. Gravity will tuck my neck.
She took it all on the crown of her head, and it was like it looked a little bit. It looked uncomfortable anyway because you could see Jungle's legs shaking as she was doing it. But yeah, it was a great spot. The fact that it didn't lead to the finish was like, oh fuck. But then you got Saki and Konami dueling with chairs, and then Saki sort of drops her chair, and Konami lays into Jungle with it, and that leads to the pinfall. And it was like, oh shit.
Two things. One, the dueling chair thing. Am I the only one who hears like the Phantom Menace theme when people start dueling with chairs? It's like do 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 do. And also, yeah, my it's like in The Simpsons, you can pause it and go, and you can see the exact moment where a heart breaks. Ding.
You can. It was very, very similar to that. And do you know what made it even better? The fact that you could hear a fucking pin drop in that arena during the last bit. I mean, I've put my match rating here. I've put 7 stars for the match rating, but the drama was 10 out of 10. I mean, we cut to the end of this match, and Konami is slouched in the corner of the ring. She chastises Jungle, just basically going, TCS is dead. It is entirely your fault. It was always going to happen. And then she leaves. Jungle screams at her to come back, and she doesn't. She just leaves her in the ring, broken, on her own, because the rest of TCS are on the outside. Jungle at this point is absolutely hysterical, again, to the absolute silence of the Yokohama crowd, which adds so much gravity to this entire thing. She cries to the heavens. She cries to the rest of her teammates, tells them to leave, go your own way. I'm sorry that I couldn't save TCS. So they all leave pretty much straight away, which was like, oh, okay, fine. Bye.
Yeah, cool, bro. Bye.
No, I was joking. Wait. And then Jungle leaves on her own, defeated, and that was the end of TCS.
What we do need to like really get the answer to, and it's like the biggest angle I think coming out of this, is who's going to adopt Def Yama-san, because we can't have her running wild.
Well, that sort of plays into Nagoya and something Mayu says. I don't know if that's final, but we'll get into that in a minute, because I'm sure we'll get into that when we get into Nagoya.
Well, that's just in storyline perspective. That's two factions of Jungles being lost to her in 2 years. Like, she lost Jan last year and she lost TCS this year.
Whose fault was it that she lost Jan? Or was that just
Jan? It was all the people who didn't get drafted in the draft the year before, and Jungle was one of them. So she was like, fuck it, we're going to make our own team with Blackjack and Hookers.
Blackjack and Hookers. Whose fault was it that Jan disbanded?
But Stardom Draft, how that worked, there was a battle royal between Hana, Momo, Mayu, Jungle, and Kagetsu. And if you there's a possibility for everyone to get either a pin or thrown over the top rope. And if you're if you're the person who didn't get the pin, your team is disbanded, and because they didn't want 5 teams in Stardom for some reason, and then Donna Del Mondo came in and fucked it all up.
It would have been so much better if Oedo Tai was the reason that Jan had disbanded as well. Just adding that little wrinkle of storyline.
No, well, what it was Hannah who eliminated Jungle, and then Jungle was the first recruited into TCS.
There you go. So ultimately, a really, really, really sad end to this match, and I really did feel sorry for whatever had to try and follow this match, because not because of the match, not because of the in-ring quality, though Dat pile driver, but because of all of the drama that then ensued. You've got Jungle, who is probably the best promo in the entire company, for just flat-out emotion.
No, I think you're completely forgetting the amazing...
If you say Death Yammer, I swear to fucking God, Chris.
I'll shut
you were going to say death, weren't you?
I was going
to. Did you notice, by the way, that throughout all this, throughout Jungle crying to the heavens, Jungle crying after Konami, one of her best friends who's turned her back on her, Death was still doing the death hands, just completely belying it.
She does not know any other way.
That was her emoting. It was great.
She's like, do you know the Pokemon Wobbuffet?
Of course I don't.
Right, so basically that has like a little tail, but then that's the tail is the actual Pokemon, and there's a big blue thing, and the big blue thing is meant to be the Pokemon, but actually isn't the Pokemon. So I think that's like that. I think there's like a little thing like behind her that we can't see.
Do you think we'll ever get through a Stardom cast without you mentioning Pokemon?
It's unlikely.
So we move on to the match that had the unfortunate responsibility of following that, which was the Goddess of Stardom Championship match with the champions, the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamatani, defeating the DDM team of Maika and Himeka at 22 minutes and 33 seconds with a motherfucking Phoenix Splash, Chris.
Splash. Right, we'll get to that in a second. What I will say is the first half, I want to say, of this match really did stuff, because like that Jungle promo, we just spent the last bit praising it, but like the original broadcast didn't have any subtitles, and even about the subtitles, you sort of like still catching the emotion.
It transcended because of the emotion. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like how whatever followed the Undertaker streak, not like obviously on the same level, but you know what I mean. It's the only thing I could think of. All right,
carry on anyway.
But anyway, the match itself, it was a better tag match than when they won the titles. This is a good it's their first defense, isn't it?
Yes, I want to say yes.
And yeah, because they won it just before
they won it in July, the July 18th Korakuen show, did they?
Yeah, and then later that month 5 Star started. So yeah, but it's the first opportunity they've had to defend it, and I think first defense is good, especially coming out of the 5 Star, both Himeka and Maika looking extremely strong.
Definitely.
So Saya picking up a win over one of them is great. Again, Maika continues the attempt at being a power wrestler when she's easily the smallest person in this match.
Oh, I don't know. Even though Saya Kamatani's tall, she's not exactly built.
Yeah, the problem is when someone's it's still a bit weird when you try to like power them around, especially when you're not used to being a power wrestler yet. I don't know. I understand them sort of being a dick about development in front of us, but it's still something that's sort of dragging down Maika's matches for now. Himeka continues to like have the best facials in Stardom.
She really does.
And that's in a place that has Jungle, but they're like good in different reasons. Whereas like Jungles are like you're in there with raw emotion. Himeka is almost uncaring at this point. She's just sort of like, I'm cool. I'm big. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Utami is of course great. We haven't actually discussed her winning the 5 Star. Me and you. What do you think of that?
I think it's a good decision. I'll be perfectly honest. I personally think she hadn't won it this time, she'd have probably won it next time. I know I'd predicted Momo to win it, and that all sort of hinged around the Jungle Kiona sort of retribution arc, and obviously that's not going to happen now. So Utami made as much sense as anybody else. I didn't really see who else, short of Konami maybe. I didn't really see who was going to win. I didn't see Himeka as a winner. I think they built her fantastically, and the fact that she got through to the final makes sense.
In the last day, I honestly thought, despite the fact that it was spoiled for me before it was even put out onto Stardom World, thanks groups that allegedly have a fucking spoiler policy.
Yeah,
anyway, we did a great job of building Shuri. I thought, like on the last day, if I was watching live, I'd legitimately think that she was in with a shot.
Definitely. In fact, to be honest, all 4 members of DDM came out of this 5-star looking fantastic.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like Julia came out looking like she easily had like the weak, not in terms of like match quality, but in terms of wins and losses, she easily had the worst compared to expectations.
Absolutely. I think she had a humbling at the hands of Himeka, to be fair.
Yeah, like Himeka's 5-star was what you expected Julia's 5-star to be.
Yeah, exactly. She powered through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that clothesline off between Utami and Himeka, which started as just clotheslines and then sort of developed into neither woman wanting to give ground and just, no, you will go down. No, you will go down. Just almost this sense of just foolish pride was brilliant, because it went on for about 3 minutes, just literally them clotheslining the shit out of each other and just going down out of exhaustion. I absolutely love that. I love the little callback between Saya Kamitani and Maika for the Future of Stardom Championship, what seems like ages ago now. There was lovely little callbacks in that little match. I think that Maika has I can't believe she's the same wrestler that came in. You know, she had such an amazing 5-star. You look at the people that she beat. Mm-hmm. She beat Momo. She beat Jungle. They Stardom are clearly putting a lot on Maika. And she's another one who is deceptively young. How old's Maika? I'm just going to have a look now on Cage Match. Maika is... Doesn't say. That's helpful. She has only been wrestling for a year, though. So...
Yeah, she's great for wrestling for a year.
May 2019, so probably 18 months. Considering she has got so little experience, I think she's come on fantastically well. This match overall, it started slow, and I think that is something to do with what you said, Chris, about how you've got to follow just this incredibly emotional moment. But it built to this really, really, really good crescendo. Complete props to Himeka for getting both Utami and Saya into the torture rack. Fair fucking play. That is not easy at all, even if you are as strong as Himeka is. So, absolute props to you.
Especially since, Utami is not, Saya is, nothing. There's nothing on her, but, Utami is actually fairly built.
Yeah, completely.
So, I did not expect to fucking going back to it. I did not expect that fucking Phoenix Splash.
Oh my god!
She's going up. I'm like, oh, is she introducing a moonsault?
That's exactly what I thought.
That's cool, but we have loads of moonsaults going around. You really shouldn't be taking it. I was thinking this as she was going up. I think really fast.
Just the exposition, lovely.
Just going off, and I was like, well, you probably shouldn't be taking a moonsault. That's sort of what Mayo's been doing, and she's doing that as a callback to EO. So maybe don't. And I'm also sick of moonsaults because Koji Izaki does it, Sanada does it, everyone does a fucking moonsault. Oh my god, it's a Phoenix Splash, and then the Phoenix.
It was a really, really impressive one as well. I've seen on Twitter some people going, oh, she landed on legs. So fucking what?
What? You do a fucking
She
Phoenix
didn't even
Splash.
looking. I mean, honestly, unbelievable.
I don't get on. I try not to get inside too much for being sloppy because again she's been gone for a year. Not if that. I don't think has she even been gone a year. When did she start?
Saying Kamitani, didn't she debut October 2019?
August 2019. So she's been going just over a year, and she hasn't had a match in that time where she's had more than 10. So 10 matches in a month. So, yeah, she's doing fucking grand in terms of move execution. Literally, the only problem is her selling, which wasn't a problem this match because nothing was being
targeted.
Yeah, so that's the thing with like the one time she did sell, it's because May basically forced her to sell.
You are going to sell, damn it. Yeah, loved it. Hopefully she keeps that as a finish, because I don't see the running shooting star as her finish. Even good as it looks,
Maybe keep it as a secondary.
Absolutely. To put away someone like maybe a Hannon or something like that. But I loved it. I love the fact that we got new moves from Saya. We got a couple of slams that we haven't seen before, some drivers we hadn't seen before. But the fact that she pulled this out was just ridiculous, and what a way to retain the titles. I actually really, really enjoyed this match. Really enjoyed it. I gave it 8. Mm-hmm. The crescendo it built to was really, really good. I really enjoy the chemistry that Utami and Himika have got. So yeah, I gave it 8, Chris.
This is a match I have a list of matches I want to get back to rewatching because I feel like context sort of sucked me out of it. Like here, I feel like the promo before sort of sucked me out the first half of this match. So just on a feeling, it's a high 7 approaching an 8, but it's one of those ones I want to rewatch because I feel like not watching it in a vacuum would do it a lot more favors than watching it from where it's placed on the card.
Absolutely.
So. But it was still an absolute banger, as was all of the top 5 matches really on this card.
Moving on then. Spoiler, sort of a spoiler anyway. These next 2 matches are in my top 3 matches of the year.
For Stardom or overall?
For Stardom, definitely. And I think one of them probably top 5 of any promotion. So we start then with the semi-main event, which was for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, a rematch from a couple of months ago, with Julia, the champion, defeating Tam Nakano at 17 minutes and 25 seconds with the glorious driver. Do you remember, Chris, back before COVID, do you remember the match between...
No, I don't. I really don't. Before COVID. But
was that even a thing? Between Hiromu Takahashi and Ryu Lee, where they started and it was literally just slapping the shit out of each other for about 7 minutes.
Yeah, literally 7 minutes.
That was literally how this match started.
Yeah, except not...
Maybe not 7 minutes, but that sort of fire, that intensity. And again, they channeled a real... They portrayed a real hatred for each other.
Yeah, it's something you only really get when me and Garth talk about Jim Cornette. No, yeah, it was fucking nuts. In that sense, what this is they took their 5-star match, which was, I think, it was between 9 and 11 minutes, and... added about 7-8 minutes onto it, which just made it better.
It was a war, is what it was. And I said before about how I didn't know how they were going to take what they'd done in these tag matches and building the feud before that, and how they were going to take it to Yokohama and build on it. And somehow they did. And... It was a slugfest. As a wrestling match, there were very, very few moves to talk about, short of just trying to proper crush people into towards the end of the match, Julie was literally trying to crush the life out of Tam Nakano, and Tam was literally just not going down out of pure fucking stubbornness. Okay, you are literally going to have to kill me to keep me down, because she was in the Stealth Viper for what felt like about 5 minutes. And the crowd was so behind it, just urging Tam to get to the ropes, because there were so many times when the ref was looking at her going, are you going to tap? Are you going to tap? And then she looked like she passed out, and then she came to again. And Julia's proper wrenching this back. I love the Stealth Viper, by the way. Absolutely wrenching it back, and Tam just isn't going down. And just that resilience that Tam was showing got her over as this babyface. And then we got Julia just pounding the shit out of her with that final glorious driver. There was no way Tam was getting up from that. Julia, for everything that we've said about her on this podcast, and we were justified in saying, in my opinion, she's another one who has come on so much from the Julia that both me and you were so down on winning the Cinderella in the way she won it, to where she is now as she's that heelish that she's not quite a heel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's sort of like NWO.
She's fucking cool. The way she wrestles as this arrogant fucking badass, literally just slugfest. Yeah, okay, she's not the greatest in-ring worker. She's good, but she doesn't touch a Mayu. She doesn't touch a Momo. But as a pure slugfest, a match filled with emotion, a blood feud, Julia would be the person I'd want in that. She did really, really well with her feud with Hana Kimura, and then this, for me, has surpassed that feud, because this was a fucking belter of a match. And it didn't matter who won this match for me, because the story they told throughout it of Tam, ultimately this boils down to Tam wanting to sort of justify Arisa, to sort of win the title in the name of Arisa, and Julia, out of pure arrogance, just not wanting her to. It's my belt, fuck off. And just that, I loved it. I loved this match, Chris. And it's my type of match. It's a Goto versus Suzuki. We're not going to wrestle. We're going to fucking beat the shit out of each other.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely their best match in the feud, because again, it's the Cinderella match, but longer, so like better. And their first one, which feels like it was 10 years ago at this point, the first match I thought was a bit bloated, whereas this was the perfect length that it had to be, just bombing each other into the ground. Yeah, Tam just being from underneath almost the whole time, because look at the size differential, of course, that's how it was. Some great, somehow in a match that started at 100, it still managed to escalate, which is, I think, a sign of a good thing, because how many matches can we name that started hot and then couldn't live up to how it started, whereas here, this started hot and managed to escalate. Julia just doesn't seem to respect Tam having a neck, which it's the kind of chemistry that I enjoy in my wrestling feuds. I'm trying to think of, I think the only person Tam had more chemistry with really is Arisa. Apart from I think with Julia might just be Tam's best opponent. Well, maybe Kagetsu. Tam, Kagetsu, and Julia. But in terms of Julia, this is proof of where she belongs. This is her feud with Tam's definitely earned her stripes in Stardom for me. Because before that, the only thing I was really holding on to was, well, the Hana match was really good, but then the Tam match is sort of yeah, good, you belong here.
Yeah,
and I'm more excited to see a white belt run now. I'm still a bit skeptical on whether she can create anything special with, say, if she was put against a B Priestley. I don't think that would work. Whereas if B Priestley was put with a Mayu or a Tam, that might just work. But if they keep putting her with people as special as Tam, and if she can keep finding her feet, because she's very good at crafting feuds, even though her promo game's not the best. She's very good at crafting particular chemistry with particular people. Whereas Tam and Julia's chemistry is really similar to the Hana Julia chemistry. It's still different. It's still particular to those two. So if given time, and this feud's been given basically since they came back from lockdown, Julia can create these really good chemistry with people. So yeah, but this feud is definitely helping to see Julia's value, which I didn't think I'd ever see at the start of the year, but I see it now.
Same here.
Yeah, and I still don't think she's as good as people say. Don't get me wrong. People seem to think she's the second coming of Jesus Christ, but she's still really good, and she's earned the stripes, especially from this match. I'm giving it a mid to high 9. It's really, really, really good stuff. Go out your way to check it out.
Absolutely. Can't really add anything to that, because it's a high 9 for me. It was so close to a 10, and I don't know what stopped it being a 10, but it's a damn near perfect slugfest.
That's what I've almost always said. It's in terms of quality, there's really no difference between a 9 and a 10. A 10 is a feeling you have. Which
brings us on to match 9, the main event. the World of Stardom Championship match with Mayu Iwatani, the champion, defeating and retaining against Syuri with the two-step dragon suplex at 28 minutes and 58 seconds. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. This match was everything I wanted it to be and more. It was everything I dared. You know when you build up a match so much in your head and then you get to watch it and you're like, that was incredibly disappointing. Or you're like...
Nakajima versus Kaito.
It's good, but it still disappoints because it's not this fucking worldy you expect it to be. This was literally the opposite. I'd built it up so much in my head, and then the match was... It got to the point in this match where basically we watched a mugging is what happened. Syuri, she punted Mayu from pillar to post for nearly half an hour is what happened. There was a moment about 10 minutes in, and Syuri had non-stop offense on Mayu when they were on the apron, and Mayu super kicked Syuri in the face just to get some degree of separation, and the crowd cheered. They cheered a random super kick on the apron because they were that invested in the babyface champion being literally meticulously taken apart by this MMA badass that they cheered just a random bit of offense because it meant that Mayu wasn't dead. And there was so many moments in this match where, props to the person who did the camera work, by the way, there was so many moments where you zoomed in on Mayu's face. And there was a moment, we were about 20 minutes in, where Mayu just looked defeated. In her face, she just looked like, I genuinely don't know how much longer I can weather this storm. And then there was a moment where Syuri kicked out of a moonsault, and it zoomed in on Mayu's face again. And Mayu is just looking completely like, what the fuck have I got to do to put this away? That was my one shot. What do I do? And just that entire drama for 30 minutes, which sounds like a long time. It wasn't. It flew. It really did.
I legit didn't realize this match was 30 minutes till I opened up the cage match page for this show as we were coming on air.
Exactly. And it wasn't just Mayu. Like, anyone that listens to this podcast knows I'm a massive Mayu mark. And Mayu was great in this match. And as we've already said on this podcast, she is easily Wrestler of the Year in Stardom. Syuri was fucking phenomenal in this match. She came across as this meticulous, cerebral badass that just slowly but surely took apart this person who's been putting on banger after banger after banger. Her strikes. Like, there was one point where May was literally in tears because Syuri is kicking her that hard. And it got...
And her kicks look like gunshots.
They look and sound like gunshots. It got to the point where it's a little bit uncomfortable to watch. And that just made it for me, because to be a champion and to be someone fighting from underneath, you need a really, really good partner to make that believable. And Syuri did that in spades. It got to the point where I want Syuri to have that red belt at some point, because she would put on fucking belters. Now, I know that, she's a freelancer, or was. I believe she's wrapping up freelance dates, and I think she is going to be signed to Stardom. I see that as a positive towards her being a real main player in this promotion, because here, holy fuck, I can't say enough good things about this match. You need to go and check it out. It's my match of the year. For Stardom.
In general, for Stardom, yeah. In terms of match of the year, it's definitely like top 5. I don't think it cracks May versus Ahura and the Kagetsu's retirement tag match, and like there's still a few ahead of it. This is still wholly worthwhile. Definitely best match of the night. Syuri is such a presence. Like, she is really expressive, sometimes to the point of being annoying. And I do think that can somewhat take away from when she's on top, because that sort of screaming intensity, I think that's better suited to a comeback. But like, she was more subdued here. Like, she was only really screaming by the end when she was seemingly getting desperate because May hadn't been put away. So that worked. Like, Shuri sort of looked at her flaws and was like, well, if we put this later in the match, that'll work better, which is good. May just, there's just points of this match where she crumpled, and it's like, oh my god. I think that's the true sign of an ace figure, where you start like rooting for them no matter like how much you want them to win or not.
Absolutely.
Like Tanahashi is the same aura where he can go into a match, and like in every booking sense, I don't want Tanahashi to win like any match he's ever in, but I forget that when I'm watching a Tanahashi match. Like, sort of the same with May, where it's like, I would probably find it more interesting if she had the red belt. I'd have found it more interesting if half the people she'd fought this year had the red belt, but it doesn't matter, because by the time you're halfway into a match, you're like, oh my god, I want Mayo to I want May to win more than I want my next breath. So yeah, it's just a perfect clash of personalities. The feud could have been hotter going into what is, I know it's no bigger than like their standard Korakuen size, but in terms of like production, it's their biggest match of the year. And actually, I think that's something that really added to this. The bigger arena really added to this match, just an aesthetic thing. Like, I don't think this match would have worked quite as well if it was just in Korakuen.
No, I agree. They needed a big match to tie off this big show because, you know, I've already spoke about how personally this is show of the year for me, and how we had really, really good matches, that outstanding semi-main, and you needed just something to tie it off. You needed a big match, and this was it. And you're absolutely right. You know, you desperately wanted Mayu to win because of the drama the two women were able to put into this match, to exude to this crowd. And yeah, sure, there was only a shade over 1,000 people in what is, I believe, a 3,000-seater venue. But even so, it felt big. It seemed big.
What I also think's worth mentioning is that it was very, very easy for this match to fall into the trap that the tag match did, because following Julia versus Tam, Vader just went in all guns blazing, it would have fallen flat. But they had a bit of a technical start. They were having a bit of chain wrestling start to slowly get the crowd into it.
Absolutely.
Because Vader just went in all guns blazing. A, the feud doesn't demand it. And B, you just had the best example of what a match like that can be. So it would have done badly. So they saw that and went, right, let's just have a slower start, and then we'll escalate it. So it's just in terms of a main event, it's perfectly paced, perfectly timed. I remember at the time some segments feeling like they could have been either longer or shorter. Like, the pacing wasn't always there, but like, even reading my notes, I can't really find evidence of that. It was just a feeling I was having at the time. So it really doesn't affect the match if I didn't feel the need to actually write it down.
No.
Like, if I this is just like, if I have to give one criticism to this match, because really it's not a match that has major flaws, unless you really don't like the sound of Shuri screaming, because you will.
It gets a little excessive, but yeah. I'm willing to let aside. I mean, this match is a bona fide 10 stars.
Yeah, I'm happy to go 10. That's around. I haven't settled on a rating for it yet. I've been going back, and this always happens when a match this good happens. I go back and forth in my head when ultimately it doesn't matter. So.
Again, you said it earlier. It's a feeling, and I know they're completely subjective. We're two knobheads on the internet, so it doesn't really matter what we say. Go and check out this show.
That being said, please listen to our opinions weekly.
www.podmania.co.uk. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Go and check out this show, and go and check out these two final matches, because they are two of the best Stardom matches of the year so far. That main event especially, but Tam versus Julia is outstanding as well. Please go and check them out. Overall, I thought Stardom delivered in spades for this Yokohama show. It's a shame. It's such a shame that they couldn't have had a full house. Imagine those 3,000 people allowed to cheer, allowed to properly get into this match as Mayu is mounting these comebacks, yet just to be kicked, decapitated by Syuri again, and she collapses again, and the crowd are proper pumped. You've got Starlight Kid banging on the apron to proper get the crowd into it. It would be incredible.
Honestly, I think back to what's holding fifth, and actually most matches from this year from being a 10 for me.
It's difficult.
Is for lack of crowd interest. And, like, I know I shouldn't mark it down, but also, like, there has been matches that's been so good it's broken through that. That's mostly because they worked the match to not have gaps for crowd interaction.
Yeah, I agree. So, moving on, the day after this show, we had the Stardom Nagoya Rainbow Fight show from the 4th of October. This was from the Nagoya International Conference Hall in front of 282 people. Now, we're not going to go into detail on the matches per se. It's more about the storylines. And as Jungle Kiona says, it's more of a reset coming out of Yokohama. So forgive us if we don't go too much into each of these matches, but we will be talking about them.
I have nothing to say for any of the matches. It's all just
exactly. So we'll go into more detail on basically the storylines coming out of this. So match 1 saw Saya Iida defeat Hanan at 7 minutes and 3 seconds with a Northern Lights suplex. She's going on a little bit of a mini run, is our Saya Iida. Match 2 saw Konami and Saki Kashima defeat Starlight Kid and Riho at 8 minutes and 7 seconds with a triangle arm lock. Konami, by the way, Chris, who looks like she's been adopted by Team Rocket and has become Dark Konami.
Who's making the Pokemon references?
I knew you'd
now,
love that
Rob?
one. I knew you'd love that one.
Prepare for trouble. Did we have a little cat?
They did not have a little cat with them, unfortunately.
That would complete it. Who's Jess? Who's Jess?
I don't know Team Rocket to that extent, mate. I remember Team Rocket from the cartoon. That's all I remember. And I know that basically dark Pokemon used to go to them. That's it. That's all I remember.
Prepare for trouble.
So yeah, Shadow Konami and Saki Kashima won. I never really asked you about this whilst we were talking about Yokohama. What is your opinion on Konami as part of Awidata? I know we've spoken about it previously because I think we actually talked about this being a possibility earlier on in the year, and I'm pretty sure we both said that it was probably the best thing for Konami, especially the way she was wrestling, that aggressive style in the 5-star. Are you a fan of Konami as part of Awidata? Do we like Awidata now that we've got B. Priestley back, and now with the addition of Konami, and, whenever Jamie Hayter comes back?
It's definitely improved. Like, I'm no longer just seeing Saki Kashima and Natsuko Tora and going, oh, fuck, the next 10 minutes of my life are going to be wasted. But at the same time, we don't know how it's going to go. Awidata might be one of those things that are just so bad that it makes even good things around them bad. They could just be like the cucumber of wrestling. So
I want that to be their tag team nickname. I really want that.
What, the cucumber
of wrestling?
No, but it's true, because cucumber tastes like fucking solidified piss, right? And then if you put it in a salad, that whole salad tastes like cucumber. It's awful.
Just, how do you know what solidified piss tastes like? Is it a hard knock life up in Scotland? Is that what it is? Just sometimes there's nothing to eat but just solidified piss.
I don't call you out on the weird things you say.
I don't say weird shit like that, Chris.
I don't know. It just doesn't take... Like, I imagine if piss became like a solid. Actually, it's poop just solid piss. No,
right,
let's
okay,
move on.
yeah,
Let's
fair
move
enough.
on.
I like Konami as part of Awidata. I think she's got more freedom as part of Awidata. I think she wrestles quite naturally a heel style anyway. The more aggressive submission style she's been wrestling recently, should I say, lends itself more naturally to being a heel action. So, and plus that means we've got another Awidata wrestler who will actually finish a fucking match. So, there is that as well. Match 3 then saw Tam Nakano defeat Mina Shirakawa at 10 minutes and 1 second with a German suplex. Tam afterwards appreciates the guts of Mina and offers the chance to join up in Tag League, which Mina accepts. So Chris, do you want to add anything to that? I know you watched the Tam Nakano and Mina match, and did you have any thoughts on it?
No, not really. It's like a 5 out of 10 type affair. Oh, solid, nothing bad. I still don't know what I think about Shirakawa. I guess Tag League might help with that because I don't think she's going to be a singles wrestler for the next wee bit anyway. And you know what Stardom are like, we're going to build her up in tag matches way before. Apart from we didn't do that with Julia, which is why I think I hated her at first. But yeah, I don't know what to think about her yet. I didn't notice the boob through line that you mentioned, but now that I heard it, I'm looking back and thinking, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yes, and I don't know how I feel about that because it's sort of like I don't know if that's like what they're gonna go for. I feel the same way about that as I did about the Julia and Tam cat fight from earlier in the year, where it's just sort of like this feels like 90s Vince Russo bullshit.
This is a company that does the bikiniing every year, though.
Yeah, no, and I don't like that.
Neither do I. I don't watch women's wrestling for that reason. That's not why I watch it. That's not why I watch Stardom, but each to their own.
Yeah, and it's one of those annoying things where like it's what stopped me initially getting into Stardom because I'm just sort of like I know exactly what kind of thing that's going to breed, but eventually I just heard too much hype and I tried it and fell in love with it. But because there's legitimate reasons to watch Stardom. For example, you can have a great match with a really well told story and not waste an hour of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
New Japan. But then you get, that shit. So it's a two-sided coin, but I'm still sort of, I don't know how to articulate my thoughts on it properly yet. Yeah. But when it comes to this match, 5 out of 10, it was fine. I have no problem with Shirakawa yet, but we'll see how Tag League goes.
But you sense that there might be impending problems that you have with Shirakawa.
To be fair, half the time when I've sensed impending problems, it's just because I'm in a bad mood and need somewhere to put it.
Match 4 then saw Natsuko Tora and B. Priestley of Oedo Tai defeat Mayu and Jungle Kiona at 11 minutes and 40 seconds with the stretch muffler. Pre-match promo, we saw Mayu and Jungle join forces to show the strength of the betrayed. Jungle doesn't know who to trust. Obviously, she's still a bit skittish, having encountered what she encountered at the hands of Konami. She then gets completely annihilated by Oedo Tai, and Natsuko Tora taps her out with stretch muffle. In fact, I think it's a referee stoppage as opposed to Jungle actually tapping out. She then gets chastised by all of Oedo Tai, including Konami, who just completely eviscerates the poor girl. Nagoya, which is Jungle's hometown, really not doing that well for her at the moment, is it? She goes...
No, she never did.
No, she really doesn't now.
It's like CM Punk in Chicago.
She apologizes to the crowd for being so awkward. Mayu steps in, says she doesn't feel like she's awkward at all, offers her a place in Stars, which Jungle accepts. At this point, it's where you realise that Jungle's leg is actually in a full leg brace, which I've never seen before, immediately after a match, and that should have thrown up some red flags, which I'll get into in a minute. But Mayu then apparently offers this offer, which extends to the remaining people in Tokyo Cyber Squad as well. So in answer to your earlier question, Chris, it looks like we might be getting Death in Stars, which doesn't fit.
I'm looking at the card for the Goddesses of Stardom shows, and Death appears to have changed her name.
She hasn't just changed her name, Chris. I'm sure you will see a gif very shortly of what she looks like now. But yes, she is now part of Stars.
When you say that, are you sending me it, or do I need to send?
I will send you a gif of it later. However, we spoke about Jungle being in that leg brace. She then broke on Twitter that she'll be out for an extended period of time due to a left knee ACL rupture, which is a minimum of 6 to 9 months recovery. She's got a right knee lateral collateral ligament rupture, which is 8 to 13 weeks recovery. She's got a right shoulder can't read that word, joint complete dislocation, which is 9 to 15 weeks recovery. And the left knee and the right shoulder, they both require surgery. Devastating news for Jungle after everything she's been through this year on a personal level and in the ring, to then have this as well. That's awful. It's absolutely crippling for the poor woman.
Yeah, it's awful. Just properly good. Because, yeah, she's my favourite in Stardom and she's gone.
And she's gone for an extended period of time as well.
For a long time, yeah. So I need to find a new Stardom favourite. It's probably going to be Death. I think Death.
I mean, in all seriousness, there is a high probability we don't see Jungle until the next 5-star. Which, considering she has been such a linchpin for the promotion for, the last couple of months, her storyline has sort of been permeating all of the shows as one of the main storylines. It's such a shame that we're not going to see... I mean, it's going to be weird not seeing Tokyo Cyber Squad in general and seeing Dark Konami, but it's just, it's full of nothing but sincere regret for her. We wish her the speediest of recoveries, and we're sure that Tag League is not going to be as good for not having Jungle Kiona in it. So, heart goes out to her. Match 5 then, just very quickly, was a 4-on-4 elimination match with the Queen's Quest team of Saya Kamitani, Utami Hayashishita, Momo Watanabe, and Azumi, defeating Donna Del Mondo team of Julia, Himeka, Maika, and Natsupoi in 21 minutes and 6 seconds. Couple of interesting things to come out of this. Maika eliminated Utami, which was very, very interesting. Saya Kamitani, who was the sole survivor winning the match for her team, eliminated Julia, which we can assume is going to set up some sort of challenge further on down the line. And then Natsupoi eliminated Azumi. So, again, setting up a challenge, presumably for the High Speed Championship further on down the line. So we're looking at new stories, Chris. Are you excited at the thought of Natsupoi and Azumi? Are you excited for the thought of Saya Kamitani versus Julia?
Natsupoi versus Azumi does interest me. I'm interested in what she can do outside of a tag setting or outside of a squash match setting. And again, she seems perfectly equipped for the High Speed Championship, so that's amazing. Saya versus Julia has filler defense written over fuck over it.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be a good match.
I agree. If this was in 6 months' time, maybe, I would believe that there is a very high probability that Saya is taking that belt from Julia. However, at the moment, I don't think Saya has been built enough to take the white belt off Julia. I think eventually she will. I think eventually there is a very high probability that she takes the belt off Julia if Julia is to hold it for a long period of time, which I think she will. Pardon me. I mean, I was more of a fan of their 5-star match than you were anyway. So I think they've got good chemistry anyway, especially if you've got, arrogant dickhead Julia taking on a person she thinks is below her, and then Saya gets the surprise win. I think that can work. But yeah, if this happens in the next, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, there's not a chance Saya takes that belt.
Yeah, it's probably, if it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen at the next Korakuen show, because we tend to just have title matches interspersed with Tag League. Or at least we did last year.
There are 2 Korakuens. There's one on the 18th, which I'm going to read the card out for very shortly. That's on the 18th of October. And then there was one at the end of October, which I believe is the 29th, I think. It's the 20-something at Korakuen. And there is actually a title defense already set from Tag League, which is... is very interesting, but I don't want to tell you if you don't know, Chris. It doesn't spoil anything.
I'm not fussed about Tag League spoilers. I'm not fussed about spoilers because I'm more curious now. Because especially since you win like that, so I'm assuming it's Death.
It's not Death, unfortunately. So the next white belt defense is actually Julia versus Himeka.
From
obviously Himeka defeating her in the 5-star, which does make perfect sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
it's probably going to be a way for Julia to get a win back, but also I wasn't massive on that match.
Again, I think I was a little bit higher on it than you were. It was a good match. It was a very good match. And like I say, I think Himika's getting from strength to strength, isn't she? So I can see that match being a belter.
Possibly, I think the tournament setting might have hindered it a bit. We'll see.
So that was that show. We've more or less caught up now. The Tag League, the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League, then started on the 10th of October. As we said, Stardom are proper piling shows out at the moment. So we've got 2 blocks, similar to the 5-star, obviously. Basically, it's their answer to World Tag League, but it's far better. 2 blocks, blue block and a red block. The teams were announced and they are as follows. So the blue goddess block is Dream H, Tam Nakano and Mina Shirakawa. Momo AZ, which is Momo, Watanabe and Azumi. Grab the Top, which is Syuri and Himika. Black Widows, which is Konami and B. Priestley, and also receives the award for Best Team Name. Colour Me Pop, which is Gokiken Death and Riho.
Excuse me, that's for best.
Fuck's sake. We've then got the red goddess block, which is MK Sisters, which is Mayu Iwatani and Starlight Kid.
I'm sorry, but when you say MK, I just think of the counselor from South Park. We're gonna win Tag League, okay?
We've got Wing Gory, which is Saya Ida and Hanan, otherwise known as Pin Eaters Are Us. Aphrodite, which is Utami and Saya Kamatani, who, of course, are the current Goddess of Stardom tag champs. Crazy Bloom, which is Julia and Micah.
Oh, I get it. I get it, because Aphrodite is a goddess and they're the goddess. So that's very clever. But I see what they're doing there.
All right there, buddy.
And I just understood it, so I'm just happy that I understood something.
So yeah, Crazy Bloom, which is Julia and Micah, and then Devil Duo, which is Natsukatora and Saki Kashima, otherwise known as DQs, are us. Now, Chris, obviously we are already 2 shows into the Tag League. Now, thankfully, I have actually managed to avoid spoilers as far as that goes, but
so have I.
We have had some questions on the Discord, and the first one actually is in reference to this Tag League. Velkish Braka, who is on our Discord, has said, who's winning the Tag League? Who, in your opinion, has the biggest chance to win and why? And if they win, are they taking the belts from the champs? So, of those teams that I've read out to you, Chris, who do you think are going to win the Tag League?
I'm trying to remember who won last year to sort of gauge who. Well, I know it was Tam and Arita who won last year.
Was it? I thought it was B and Jamie. I'm sure it was B and Jamie last year because then they won the belts.
Tag League.
I can't wait to hear the moment when Chris realises I'm right.
Right, okay. It's okay if you're right. It happens occasionally. Combined. I don't care about Reigns. God damn it. Hang on.
This is the sort of thing you tune in for, isn't it, guys? Awkward silence while Chris Googles things.
2019 result.
How can you still be looking it up? How?
Here we go. Start. All right, I've got. Hang on. Day. No, that's day 3.
For God's sake!
God damn it! I hate. Okay.
Have you got it now?
Yeah, I just need to scroll down because there's a lot of matches. Okay. So Dance versus Matt. Okay, what the fuck? Aha! I give up.
Right. Who do you think's going to win this year then?
Who's feuding in DDM? Well, no one's feuding with DDM, right? Oh, it's not. Who's feuding with Queen? So it's not going to be a Queen's Quest team. I reckon Konami and
B.
But Konami and B might actually be another chance, since B's a perpetual tag wrestler nowadays. They might also give it to Tam and just to get her some reps in. Also, I don't think we can discount
I knew you were going to say
Rio.
that, for fuck's sake. Personally, I think Grab the Top are going to go the distance, which is Syuri and Himeka. You look at Red Block, and that's Mayu and Starlight. Well, they're not going to win it. Saya, Ida, and Hanan, they're not going to win it. They're not going to have Utami and Saya win it again. You know, they're not going to have them win the tag league and then challenge themselves, are they? Which means it's between Julia and Maika or Natsuko Tora and Saki Kashima, which I don't think it will be the latter, which means Julia and Maika are going to make it through. I think it would be a really good dynamic if you have an all DDM final and Syuri and Himeka take it, because not only does that give us a really interesting thing in DDM, I think it also builds to some dissension, which will be interesting.
I found the tag league
was it right?
No,
was it not?
No, yeah, Rita and Tam
in 2019.
No, yeah,
no, they didn't.
Yes, we did.
I'm sure B and Jamie won in 2019.
I'm sending you the link right now to the. Like, if I'm wrong, then cagematch.net is wrong.
I'm sure it was B and Jamie.
I remember watching it too. It was fun.
Fair enough. I apologise. I was convinced it was B and Jamie.
That always happens to me. Like, in my head, I'm like, it'd be like, I'm sure Nakanishi was an Intercontinental Champion. It's like, no, of course he wasn't.
Of course not. It's
anyway,
Nakanishi.
Continuing on.
So I've gone for Grab the Top. You think Black Widows are going to go the distance? I think it would have been interesting if Black Widows were in the other block, because I think that's a natural final. Syuri and Himeka versus Konami and B.
Yeah. That is a natural final, actually.
Yeah,
that's a shame.
It is, but there we are. So there you go. That's those are our picks. We'll probably be hilariously wrong. Niagara Driver, friend of the show.
Yeah, we were hilariously wrong about the fucking
We were hilarious. Fucking hell, I know. I went from 5th to 21st in the Voices of Wrestling Pick'ems. Fuck it, I'll do a podcast on the Stardom, on the roster, on the entire fucking promotion, and I fucked it up. Never mind, anyway. So Niagara Driver, friend of the show. Hello, Niagara Driver. Says, who do you think has got the biggest boost from the 5-star Grand Prix and Yokohama Cinderella? We've spoken about the 5-star a bit. Maika has got a massive boost coming out of that. Himeka has obviously got an enormous boost coming out of that. Konami, I think, has got from both shows.
Yeah, Konami from both shows is definitely, if we're talking like 5-star in a bubble, then it would definitely be Himeka, because she went from like no name
finalist,
to
yeah,
contender.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but in terms of like both combined, Konami is like now on people's radar as someone who's worth watching. Well, more than she was before, where like she was a bit no personality before. Now she has a personality.
Yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely.
And also she's a newly minted official heel. So.
Yeah, and I think, just from the 5-star, we spoke about it on pretty much every podcast we did during the 5-star, that she was one of the most, if not the most entertaining person wrestling that night. And then to put on top of that the fact that she's the sole reason that Tokyo Cyber Squad disbanded. She's now a heel with Oida Tai. She's got massive momentum going forward. And then, depending on how well she does during the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League, she might be challenging for the tag belts. I see her being a singles champion in the very, very near future, because, you need to capitalize on this sort of momentum for someone. You don't do this for them then just to fade off into the distance. Evil. Fuck me. Jesus, his matches are hard work. Aside from that, I mean, you've got the obvious. Azumi, I think, has done phenomenally well, but, at the moment she is a high-speed wrestler and a tag wrestler, nothing more. I think, like you said, Chris, we will get there,
Same with Starlight.
but not yet. And someone I am going to mention, probably not an enormous amount of a boost, but someone who has done themselves really quite proud over the last couple of months is Saya Kamatani. Because she's gone from, she went from finally having gear that matched with the rest of Queen's Quest in June, because she did feel like a bit of the odd one out, and she's gone from June and that amazing tag match between all of Queen's Quest to then go on and become tag champ, to then go on and every single match in that 5-star she got better. She was able to tell more stories. Yes, I know the selling is still an issue, but in-ring wise, she's getting better and better and better. And, the shows that we've reviewed today, the Osaka one, the Korakuen, she was really, really good in them. She had a good match against B. She was really good in the tag match against Maika and Himika. I think she's actually had a very, very good couple of months. Do you agree, Chris?
Yeah, I think in terms of 5-star, the only people who came out of it either the worst, the wear, or the same are people like Tam, Momo, or May, who couldn't really get higher, or Saya, who wasn't booked strong, or Tora, who was Tora. But apart from that, everyone else, and I think that leaves 11 other people all came out of a 5-star looking better than they went in.
Absolutely. Before we sign off then, the card for the next Korakuen show, which as mentioned was October the 18th, has been announced, and I just want to quickly run that through with you now. Now, when our next podcast drops, which at the moment, at the time of recording, will be October the 18th, obviously this show will not be up in its entirety, so we'll have to review that the following Sunday. The show then starts off with Saya Iida versus Tam Nakano in singles action. Mina Shirakawa against Himika in singles action. We've then got an 8-man tag. Julia, Shiori, Maika, and Natsupoi taking on Bea Priestley, Konami, Natsuko Tora, and Saki Kashima, which could be good, could be just a random DQ. So let's,
It's like playing roulette with...
Exactly. If Natsuko Tora's in the ring, it'll be a DQ. However, if Darth Konami's in there, we could get a decent finish. I'm gonna give her a different name every time I say it.
Use the code.
So we've got
Konami.
Dark Konami, Darth Konami, Shadow Konami. God, I'm cool.
Heartless Konami, Kingdom Hearts.
Nice,
reference.
like it. We've then got what looks like our sole tag league match of the Korakuen show, which is Momo Z, Momo Watanabe, and Azumi taking on Aphrodite, Utami, and Saya. I am all for that, Chris.
When I hear Aphrodite, have you ever seen the Hercules TV show?
I
the
haven't.
Disney one. Aphrodite turns up. It's like Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and it's amazing.
We got a trios match, which is Riho, Starlight Kid, and Hanan taking on Gokiken, Death, Hina, and Rina. And then the main event, which is for the World of Stardom Championship, Mai Iwatani versus Takumi Aurora. So,
yes.
God, the Daniel Bryan things are up, are they? Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So an absolute belter, I imagine.
Rematch of the Stardom match of the year.
Yes. Yeah. Again, I will check that out.
Hopefully, you'd have seen it. I was about to say, hopefully you'd have seen it by then, because it's been most of a year at this point.
I will. I'll have checked it out. A couple of matches confirmed on Saturday, October the 17th, which will be day 3, of the Tag League, which will be Devil Duo versus Momo Z. Devil Duo, of course, Natsuko Tora and Saki Kashima. And then we've also got Crazy Bloom, which is Julia and Maika, taking on Color Me Pop, which is Riho and Gokiken Death. So 2 absolute fucking bangers there.
I still love that name. I'm never going to not love
really
that name.
Depresses me. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking around with us on this nearly 2.5 hour podcast. We've managed to whip through 4 shows and questions and look at the Tag League in a time that I think is actually quite decent. We thought it was going to be like a 4-hour slog. We've managed to condense it down. So thank you for waiting. Again, it was solely my fault that this has come out late, and it was solely my fault that Chris had to do the last podcast on his own. So thank you for bearing with us. We really do appreciate it. Please go subscribe, like, share the podcasts to anyone that listens to Stardom. We really do appreciate any sort of exposure. Anyone listening to the podcast, thank you so much for doing it. Any 5-star reviews, any comments really do help the podcast out. You can go and check out www.podmania.co.uk. You can check out all our match ratings and archived podcast episodes there. You can follow us on Twitter at the Stardom Cast. You can follow me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Chris, where can they find you?
At Def Yamasan,
which I don't even think is her Twitter handle, so fuck knows where that's going to send them.
Okay, I panicked. I had one, but then the podcast went almost 3 hours, and I lost.
Join us on Sunday the 18th, where we will be talking the first 2 nights, and maybe the main event of Night 3 of the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.